Я подтверждение ситуации передаю настройку. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Talking Lead AK Corner, presented by Pioneer Arms Corp USA.
All right, AK heads, welcome back to this month's installment of the Talking Lead AK Corner. This is your February edition, and as promised, we've got a great episode. We're going to be talking about camouflage today. If you didn't get an opportunity, make sure you go back to last month's episode where we had the owner of Pioneer Arms Corp, Poland, on the show, Michael. And we can't say his last name. Say it, CJ. You say it better than
it's
anybody.
Like it's my Kaslich.
My Kaslich. Not making fun of your name, Mike. It's hard for us to say. And we talked the history of Pioneer Arms Corp. So we got a great deep history of Pioneer Arms Corp. On that episode, we also talked about some of Michael's family history. And that was very interesting. Talking about his great grandfather in World War II and the unit that he led. I'm not going to say it because that's going to be part of something that we've got coming up. So don't say the name of that unit, CJ, on this episode. They're going to have to learn about that later on this episode. So true to form, we posted a post your questions on Instagram. So for all you that have asked questions, you're going to be eligible for this month's giveaways. And we've got some awesome giveaways. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. And joining me from last month to this month, we've got the Vice President of Pioneer Arms Corp, CJ Johnson. And are you also Poland Vice President as well as Pioneer Arms Corp USA?
Right.
Okay. So make sure I get all that right. The dichotomy of the hierarchy.
I don't need the hierarchy or anything else. I'm just a guy that makes sure your rifle's right.
Just CJ bringing you all the goodness from Poland. He's the reason why we have these awesome firearms from Poland, from Rodham, Poland. Also joining us is my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the bearded bear from what part of Russia are you from?
St. Petersburg.
That place, St. Petersburg. Ladies and gentlemen, Marco Vorobiev. Welcome in, Marco. And what is that?
Z.
A Z? Like Zorro, the gay blade?
No, like for World War Z.
Yeah, like on the tanks driving in Ukraine.
Nice.
Nothing escapes CJ. You got to be careful what you say around him.
He's a steel trap, I'm telling you. A mackerel couldn't get out of that. All right. Also joining us this episode for our special camo edition of the AK Corner, we have Hank, and Hank is with Fireforce Ventures. They are a company out of Texas that specializes in certain country camos, Rhodesian being one of the main camos that they focus on. Hank is also a historian himself, just like Marco, military historian. And Hank, welcome in the show. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me, Lefty, and pleasure meeting you guys. I'm Hank. As Lefty said, I'm the owner of Canada Camo, based in not so beautiful right now, but Alberta, Canada. It's all snowy outside, so I normally say it's beautiful. Typically is, but it's kind of shitty outside right now. But
sure.
I also lend a hand, as you mentioned, in running Fireforce Ventures, which is down in Texas. We're known for our authentic reproductions of Rhodesian brushstroke and other rare camo patterns, while Canada Camo is kind of where all the design magic happens, and that's all me. Our inspirations are the legendary figures of Africa's greatest generation, the professional soldiers, the mercenaries, and adventurers of old. the Fireforce Ventures community is a really tight knit one of enthusiasts, living history aficionados, and we're all very deeply passionate about what we do. Personally, I've delved into military history, particular in terms of camouflage, both for academically and professionally, all in pursuit of creating top-notch products. And when I'm not immersed in that world, you'll see me doing living history reenactments or hosting my own podcast, the Men Among Men Stories podcast, where we delve into lesser-known tales of military history. So thanks again for having me.
Very cool. So you do living history reenactments. Is that military-based reenactments that you're doing? And
yeah, I right now my big focus is on World War I. So I do World War I Canadian reenactment. So there was it's pretty well known. I've got a framed thing of them over there on my wall. But there was actually really big contingent of Chinese and Japanese Canadians in the Canadian military during the First World War. They were pretty hardcore dudes, like known for like extreme violence, and some of the Japanese guys and stuff carried katanas into battle, which is totally crazy, But it's very interesting stories there. So I reenact World War I, specifically the 10th Battalion Canadian Expeditionary Force, the White Gurkhas of the Canadian Expeditionary Force, and the Germans typically surrendered because if they didn't, they would find themselves bayoneted or clubbed to death on the Western Front. So they're pretty well-known unit, the shock troops. So I reenact that unit, and I also,
cool.
as a side thing, I also do the 4th Indian Division. So I do a Gurkha thing for World War II, Italy campaign.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is this something that they video when they do these things? So people go like on YouTube and see some of this stuff, or what?
Nah, normally it's just like kind of public demonstrations. So there's a few here locally in Alberta, all across southern Alberta. There's just a few events and stuff, and I plan on doing more because I know there's bigger reenactment events like Newville in Pennsylvania, where it's like thousands of dudes, doing the whole thing. So
Marco, didn't you do reenactments at some point in time?
No, I'm not. I had plenty of real acting.
You had real action,
yeah.
So I'm not.
I think
I went one time to Battle of Selma to see it. They reenacted near Montgomery, one of those famous Bedford Forest standoffs where they just left the town for the northern troops to burn. But that's it. That's as far as I know the reenactment.
I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that for some reason you did.
I think what he's talking about, Marco, is when you do your LARP stuff, your live action role play, when you're out
like
there
I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I often at night when everybody's already asleep and the neighbors are not awake, I dress up and kind of hide there behind the couch,
sneak around the house.
Convoy. Yeah,
you get to sneak quiet so you don't wake the wife up.
Well, I appreciate everybody taking the time to be on, and also with the dressing in camo, your camo there. Looks like Hank's got some Rhodesian stuff on.
I've got an original too. I've got original like stuff behind me. I got a lot of original stuff behind me, but yeah, there's an original shirt. It's all faded and stuff, and there's mine.
Nice.
It's more modernized. So.
And then Marco's got on his looks like sailor uniform. I don't. what do you got on?
I see Kalinoshka.
This is what they often refer to as a mabuta, right? Which it was developed for the hot climate, and it was standard issue for us when we were in the stand. And although it's not a camouflage, but it lends itself nicely to the environment which we found ourselves operating, especially in the spring, summer, and fall. It's it bleached over a time. It would bleach in the sun and stuff, and blend easily in that what they call a mountains desert type of conditions.
Yeah. And then I've got on. Tell them what I'm wearing.
It's
Marco.
called KZM.
The KZM. I get them confused, and then I've got one behind me there.
Suit, camouflage suit. It's made out of like a burlap-like material, but softer cotton. Cotton. It's a see-through, We often refer to it as a sniper undersuit, but it was also referred to as cheesecloth. It has a big old hood, so it would fit over the helmet, and it's got a veil which would cover your face. And it's got the long sleeves, so they could be rolled over your hands to conceal. And the pants are more like a sweatpants.
Yeah, there's still that burlap material. The ones.
Well, it's not a burlap. It's like a
I said light.
loosely woven.
I said
cotton.
light burlap.
Yeah, but
it's comfortable. It's soft. It's comfortable.
Yep.
It's not too bad. And then CJ,
he's
got
wearing
a kind of camo on.
Well, you know, in the times that we're in right now, as far as camo and everything goes, that people are wearing and everything else, I just wanted to give a word of advice to people out there for a little bit of I don't know, PSA or whatever you want to do it. If you see you walking down the street and you have your camo on, there's an issue. Me, I just look like a fat guy, right? I mean, I'm not a threat. So if I pop out on the road and check something out, I'm not a threat because I don't have the camouflage and the gear on.
So your camo is urban camo.
But I do have my level 4 plates.
Yeah, I think you need a bigger shirt to conceal that plate because it showed through that shirt.
It was a big plate. And then I have the best
in the world.
The best night camouflage that exists. and this is IR. It's not infrared.
IR retardant.
Yep, it's IR retardant. So I have this one right here, and this is one of the ones that we used in Desert Storm. It still hadn't been washed or anything, but it's still got where it reduces the light whenever you're trying to look through it. Of course, it's still won't do anything for thermal, but it's definitely against IR and other light sources. It actually blends in to the surroundings where you're at, especially in a desert environment. And it's a great camouflage, more so than anything else. It's almost the same color when you're looking through it, through the green maroon. It's almost the same color as if the nods itself. So the cape or the parka, as it's called, is almost completely invisible.
Are you getting hot? Is that why you're taking off your plates?
That's why I was waiting for Marco to finally get on here so I could disrobe.
Sorry about that one.
And as we get into the conversation, obviously, yes, we want to talk about the more modern types of camouflage and things that the camouflage has to defeat. So the thermal, the IR, all the new technology. So, and we're going to start specifically around World War II and then work our way up to modern day camo. But camouflage has been around since creatures started populating the world. You know, animals, the natural camouflage that a lot of the animals have for protecting themselves against predators. So a great example of that would be, you know, the leopard spots. They're the hunters. They're not the prey, but for them to be easier to sneak up on their prey and get their food and eat, you know, they've got that natural camo, the leopard spots. Another good example would be the chameleon or the octopus, to where they can at will, seems like, kind of just change the color of their skin to blend in with their surroundings. So I think as man developed on this earth and needed to feed themselves, you know, they adapted and kind of saw what was happening and occurring in nature, and they would get things around them like leaves and mud and, you know, try to hide themselves so they could sneak up and get their next meal. So, but that leads us, we're going to skip all the things leading up to that, unless anybody wants to talk pre-World War II type camo. And we're talking specifically military camo today as well.
So we got to mention experimental corps riflemen for sure. Pre-World War II.
Even before that, you know, we all know about the ghillie suits, right? In the
ghillie suits,
modern sniper ghillie suit.
Yeah. Lovett Scouts, yeah.
Yeah, the Scottish game warden used to use those. Also, you got to kind of walk into the 4 S's of basis of camouflage, right? Concealment, which is the shape, silhouette, shadow, and what's the other one? Shape,
Sheen,
no,
shine,
shine.
Shine.
Yep.
So that's basically to break up the natural expected silhouette of a person, and blend in
object.
with the environment.
Hey Marty, can I disrupt the flow real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, I've got a appointment at the VA, got to go to. So
that's right.
I just wanted to jump in real quick and do what Pioneer's prize is that we're giving away for that, and so I can present that before we get out of here. Are you good with
We
that?
don't know who the winner is yet, so you just want to tell them what the prize is going to be.
I'm going to tell them what the prize is going to be for today.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
And we'll let Marco, who knows the prize that I'm giving away dear to his heart, and he can select the winner.
Okay. Sounds good.
So what I have is PPS 43.
Yeah.
We make a limited edition one of these that is signed and engraved with the Battle of Leningrad. And we're going to be giving one of these away today. Unlike, an accessory kit or something else, we're just going to go ahead and do a PPS 43.
What?
So that's what we're giving away today.
Holy shit, dude.
And it'll have the certificate to go with it. And of course it'll be engraved, and the certificate will be signed as authentic. And we've only made 200 of these that are engraved with the Leningrad. And we're going to be giving one of these away today. So whoever wins, congratulations. Go ahead and thank Marco. Marco was the one that pulled your name out of the hat. And nobody better to pull out a design purpose Russian military gun then Marco should do it. And I'm going to bounce off of here. I'll let you guys get back with it. But
well, if you get done with your appointment in time, we probably will still be on. So hop back on if you want to, and then we'll be at the modern day camo, ready to get your take on the.
All right, that sounds good. Well, I'll just pause it and let you look at the wall, and then maybe I can make it back.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right,
CJ,
Marco.
Nice
Nice meeting you, Hank. Looking forward to doing some stuff with you.
Wow.
Stellar.
So, damn, CJ, you gotta warn me on when you do stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point. Where you're not getting a warning.
Marty, your modus of operandi should be expect unexpected when you talk to.
It is.
All right, guys. I'll try to make it back.
All right.
I'll also talk to you later today when I call you, maybe towards the evening. If it's
okay. All right.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Okay. I'll touch you later.
All right. See you, buddy. All right. I'll kick him out. He doesn't know how to close it there. So there you go. I mean, I'm completely shocked on that. So today
it would be, can I add to what he was saying about engraving it for Battle of Leningrad?
Yeah.
So after a siege of 990 semi days, right, with the million dead from starvation, this January we celebrated 80 years of a break through the blockade of Leningrad. And why is it significant in relation to PPS 43? Is that gun was developed and built in the blockaded Leningrad, and it was designed by this genius engineer named Sudayev, who was 28 years old when he created this gun, which immediately, well, arguably is the best subgun in the World War II. And it's amazingly simple the way he outlaid it, made with the mostly stamped parts. But he also was the winner of first stage of the trials for what we now know as AK rifles,
right?
For intermediate cartridge, where
we talked about that on prior episodes. Yeah,
correct. And it would be if he had debilitating disease and died at the age of 28. But if he didn't die and he continued further you know, to develop that gun, it wouldn't be the AK, it would be called AS. He would have won that competition hands down. And as a matter of fact, modern AK, or the AK-47, which the Soviets adopted, actually had a lot of elements from the Sudaev's gun that the Kalashnikov team kind of borrowed or picked it up because, you know, because the Sudaev's team hit the wall with passing.
So that just doesn't have the same ring to it as an AK, you know, the AS.
AS, you know.
AK. I mean, it's just
well, that's off. Because it's been AK for what, 70 semi years, right? So it's AK. But it would have been AS, then we would be like, oh, look at that ass. I mean, AS.
Look at that nice ass. So there you go, lead heads. We're giving away a PPS 43 this episode. So all the more reason why you should subscribe and listen to every single episode and participate in every single episode, because you just never know what's going to happen here, especially with CJ. It's like the first year, you know, our first episode, he's like, yeah, we're going to give away one every episode. It's like, what? So there you go. True to form, CJ. Thank you, CJ. And then we got more news to drop toward the end about our third episode, which is where we originally scheduled to give away firearms every third episode, but it looks like we're going to be doing just whenever now. So we'll talk about that later on the episode. So let's get into the camouflage after we get over CJ's curveball there. So you started off and you were talking about Marco, the ghillie
suit. The ghillie suits, named after a Scottish game warden, wardens who had to sneak up on the poachers, obviously poaching the Her Majesty or His Majesty forests and stuff. Yeah, and you know, they would make those things out of whatever the fabric that they could find, mostly probably potato sacks anyway, cheap and effective. And of course, that practice we see now today, being used by modern snipers, and they build their own suits. They bury them in the dirt and stuff and all that.
I don't think your microphone, you're coming through your headset microphone. I think you're coming through your camera microphone.
What's that?
So I think you're coming through your camera microphone.
Really? All right.
Tap on that microphone on your headset. No.
I'm coming in on this thing.
Yeah, so get closer to it is what I was going to tell you, because you're a little...
Well, I have other options. Why don't... okay.
No, you sound good. It's just you need to get closer to it.
Shit.
No, you're good. Just scoot up closer to your screen and you're good.
Well, actually... Oh, it's probably that one, eh?
Yeah, it's that one right there you just pointed at. Yeah.
All right, so...
that's much better. Yeah.
Right. So the basis, see, I have my own view because, you know, I taught a sniper school, and I have my own basis of the camouflage or concealment theory, you would say. And one of them is, I said theory in my theory, of course, things that I'm talking to it. It is dumbest AI there is. It's been proven. But anyway, what I'm saying is it doesn't take much to conceal yourself from the animal commonly known as human, because we lack a certain things like sense of smell, the sense of hearing, and an eyesight compared to wildlife animals, for example.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And I often ran the exercise where I would split the class into two relays, let's say squad 1 and squad 2, and I had squad 1 just, you know, turn away somewhere or hide behind whatever obstacle, and the other squad just basically drop down about 20 feet in the about 24 to 36-inch grass 20 feet away from a from a passage there, from a trail. And then I'll bring the squad one out and I say, do you see anyone? I put them exactly where those guys would be hiding in the grass. And they look around, they start looking at the bushes, the trees nearby. They say no. And then I tell them squad 2 to rise up, and they within 20 feet, you couldn't see anything. So, and those guys were not really wearing the ghillie suits, which I
was going to ask, what were they wearing?
Just a regular, whatever that they brought into class. Most of the guys were wearing the regular fatigues.
And were you using like just natural surroundings, like grabbing branches and twigs? And
nothing. They just dropped in the grass.
They just dropped.
Yeah, that's it. So what I'm trying to say is that proper concealment and usage of the environment around you, it doesn't take that much to even for a soldier who is in a patrol and obviously acutely aware of his surroundings and actually kind of like looking for things that are out of ordinary to react to. So and oftentimes, I mean, when we talk about camouflage, is it camouflage 20 feet away or it's a 400 meters away? It's right. Two different things too. So the biggest, that's as far as the theory is concerned. So there's, like, for example, I would have one relay. We usually have them in all line because, it's multiple people. It's not just one person you're training. And they in a firing line. And I told them to create a screen. And the screen, it would be just the twigs or dry grass that you stick right maybe 3 or 4 feet beyond your muzzle, just in front of it, like 4 or 5 little twigs and stuff in front of them. And then I had another relay team at 650 yards looking back at the firing line. And they could not identify where the firing positions were. It's just simple as that. It's just to break up that anticipated shape and silhouettes and so on and so on. And no, it takes very little. So now armies had, as you can probably know from history, and Hank probably, if he's historian, knows that like all these European wars, starting from Napoleonic Wars and then going into the Crimean Wars, numerous of them, right? And had soldiers dressed up in the bright, like British were always bright red, and French were always blue with the red elements, and the Russian Tsar army was always green with the red elements and stuff. But you would think that it's not. And the white pantaloons, pants, and the white crosses for their, the bells for the web gear that they carried. And so it was like this going into 1870, late 1870s, even 1890s. And then talk about Civil War here, a little closer home, where the gray, which was probably better than the navy blue, against the North. And of course, towards the end of the war, the Confederates were so poorly supplied that they had the brown uniforms, they had some blue uniforms that they refashioned, taking it off the prisoners or dead the Northern soldiers.
Well, another interesting fact about the Civil War is, as far as camouflage goes, and we're not talking about soldier camouflage here, but it was just to camouflage their encampments and their equipment. They brought in kudzu, and that's how we got kudzu down here in the South, all over the place.
There should be a mention of Berdan's sharpshooters in the Civil War. As I mentioned earlier, there's Experimental Corps Riflemen, 1801, the first real unit to do a quote-unquote camouflage, and it's kind of simple stuff. So blackening buttons, for example, right? Not having shiny buttons. That is kind of continued by, and it's just, there's all these like little things, like the trimmings are on the uniforms are black, for example. With the experimental, and they later become the 95th Rifles, still perpetuated today in the British Army by the Rifles. But Berdan sharpshooters in the American Civil War, which was a Union unit, as the name implies, it was a sharpshooter unit. So guys were pretty good shots in that particular unit. They also distinctively wore a dark green, which again, hell of a lot better than navy blue, and arguably better than Confederate gray. And that unit performed pretty successfully throughout the course of the war, from at least what I understand. I'm not a Civil War expert, but Berdan sharpshooters for sure.
Well, you're 100% correct. And even so, we were talking about the Civil War was in times where militaries all around the world already adopted the concept of switching to rifle weapons rather than the muskets.
More distance.
Right, more distance, more accuracy, slower to load, of course, because not sure about the Civil War, because they start using the Minier balls and all that.
The percussion caps, yeah.
And little further back to the end of Napoleonic Wars, where the Brits actually fielded the regiments of riflemen who wore green uniforms, also not bright red, and they start using the rifles, and those rifles were slow to load because you had a leather patch you have to put around the ball, so the ball would spin in the rifling. And so you see the elements of early camouflage, so to speak, or concealment rather, was already present at the end of Napoleonic Wars, through the Civil War, and then carries into the Crimean Wars. But
what you see, and I want to add to that, Marco, is as you're seeing warfare develop and modernize, you're also seeing the camouflage starting to become more and more important in their tactics.
And one of the biggest steps in the somewhat at that time modern military, and one of the major militaries in Europe, was when the Tsarist Russia went away from the black and green uniforms to all the way across to khakis.
Likewise with the British at the same time frame. During the time of the Great Game, 1880s, they all start switching to khaki, and that's a big thing. Or khaki, as it's pronounced in the Commonwealth. Khaki.
Right, and it's the reason for that is because now the cartridge type rifles showed up in the battlefield, and they became a lot more accurate. So those types of weapons could easily, in the distances that were accustomed for muskets and even the early rifles, percussion caps and whatnot, black powder rifles. It was the distances were getting longer, trying to preserve your personnel, because as the personnel, both the enemy and your personnel, became more accurate with weapons, then you had to spread them further and make the targets not so obvious. So you would not see, even at the turn of the 19th or 20th century, you wouldn't see the unit dispatched in one line or column per se, like a French attack, or the line 2 or 3 deep, as the British would attack or defend. So it became more of what they call a chain, the tactics, which it would be a staggered lines, 2 lines that are spread in these in checkered pattern, staggered. So this way you don't create one simple line for a the machine guns. The invention of machine guns had a big role in developing early concealment and camouflage.
So I think there was a question in one of the Instagram comments prior to the show about like why weren't these camouflages introduced earlier, right? Because it seems kind of like there's no straight lines in nature, and there's no like bright red jackets in nature either. So obviously, like why did this development happen in the 1800s as opposed to the 1700s or 1600s, right? And I think the big reason for that is command and control. So
correct, you're 100% correct.
Historically, soldiers were illiterate, like farm boys, regardless of where, this is a generalization, obviously, but generally whether they were in Tsarist Russia or Georgian England, they were illiterate farm boys who needed to be conscripts or oh, I'm echoing. I don't know from who.
What'd you do, Marco? Check.
No, I thought
okay.
If this mic didn't work, why do I have it? So I tried to unplug it, and that's why.
Yeah, it's got the echo.
Okay. It's got the echo. All good. So, anyways, so like, you want to keep things as simple as possible training these soldiers. The only requirement is obviously you have like 2 back teeth that can, rip the cartridge off, rip the packs off the, little like self-contained paper cartridges, basically, right? Like, it's very, very simplistic. But as you get like with, more things happening in Industrial Revolution and like standardized schooling and stuff, more and more people are literate. You have soldiers that are actually able to competently exercise command and control. Your NCOs are not just, historically in the 1700s, even during the American Revolution, the guy holding a pike, who his whole job was to not use the pike in combat, but to, keep his soldiers in line, right? That becomes an NCO that is actually independently thinking, able to act, in a, section or squad level, about 7 or 8 guys, and then platoon level, and then a company level, right? So rather than operating as just a company of illiterate farm boys, it gets more and more complex, and as a result, camouflage can be applied because you don't need to find, okay, our guys are the red coats. Let's make sure they're all the red coats are together, and you see another red coat, he's
shirts versus skins, right? Kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas by the time of the First World War, the Second World War, everyone's wearing pretty drab colors, with exception to the French and the French Zouaves and stuff in the early part of the war. But by the end of the war, everyone's kind of moving towards some sort of a drab. And the German field grau, the British khaki, obviously, the Russians throughout the course of the First World War were in khaki as well, and it was just the French that were the last holdouts because they're French, doing blue. But command and control is a huge factor why, like, it made more sense historically, even though, you talked about leopard spots all the way back in caveman days, like, it made sense to have camo, why it wasn't adopted at a military level. And it was a big part of that was command and control.
Well, I think another big part was, there wasn't really a need because, again, in early battles, the weaponry was more short range and everybody had to be a lot closer. So, I mean, there really was no need for camo. But as you see the development of the rifle and the distance of the battles start pulling each other apart and getting further and further, that kind of goes to my point as military and battle has progressed through the years, so has the camo and the need for the camo to be able to hide and conceal not only your personnel, but your equipment and your vehicles and everything. So I think the development of the rifle and the range and the accuracy of that also you'll see in history as that's increasing and improving. So are people's camouflage techniques, I would say.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion on things that I've read. I'm not a historian. You guys are historians, so you know a lot more. And I like the point that you brought up there about the control and command too. That was a good aspect of it. Definitely.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Like why you would feel particularly brave in a massed formation going up, oftentimes like a 50-yard engagement distance, being able to see the whites of the eyes of the enemy kind of deal, right? Like you think about like Bunker Hill, right? Like those engagements with militiamen, American militiamen, British, regulars facing each other, like at a 50-yard engagement distance. It's because you knew there was like a mass of like friendly guys around you, right? And it was like a morale thing, right? You would see your colors, the Betsy Ross, or I don't know if they had the Betsy Ross at Bunker Hill. It's a little early, but like just some sort of local like a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, right? The Gadsden, the early Gadsden, like seeing that, which is not camouflage. Like colors are not, colors are like rally around the colors kind of
the thing. Jolly Roger,
Yeah. You're
kind of thing.
Exactly. It's not. It's meant to be flamboyant and visible, right? And likewise, the men's uniforms were meant to be flamboyant and visible for command and control, right? The only way you're going to get these guys to fight is to have some semblance of morale. So I see a Pakul now, a very nice piece of kit. One there. So
is Marco back?
Marco is back. He is wearing a Afghan Pakul. Very nice.
I was bringing up some Civil War battle formations just to kind of bring home the point that you were talking about there. I'm not really getting any good pictures here, but let's see what Marco's wearing. Okay. He's got his Chef Boyardee hat on. What are you wearing now? Marco has done a costume change.
Okay, so this is an early version of KLMK. Well, really, it's not. It's called the birch pattern. It was a separate outfit with the pants and the jacket, and it came with.
Tilt your camera down just a little bit if you can. Can you tilt your camera down a little bit?
Not really, otherwise I'll break everything. But
okay,
I'm just going to bring it up. So it came with the hood, and for your viewing pleasure, it came with the mask.
Oh, look at there. It's like you're going to the ball.
But on the top of it, a few things to notice. It was popular because it was very light. In the summer, it was, cooler to wear rather than the regular uniforms.
Yeah.
And the puckle hat and this scarf right here is a part of that's been used by the Soviet soldiers. Talk about using simplistic things to conceal themselves.
Hold that up. Let's see the scarf as you're talking about it.
It's typical Afghan scar, and there's a puckle hat. That's a typical Pushtu and Tajik headdress. But it's been, there you go. See, you gotta,
I gotta rep too. The Pakul. Pakul's really comfy. It's
warm, especially in Canada. Right?
Yes.
So they use this to conceal themselves. So dress them as a mujahideen and use the captured trucks, pickup trucks, the Toyotas and Simurg and whatnot. And in the desertous area, like around Helmand province, with the Lashkar Gah and up to Shindand area, there are basically no hills or mountains. It's a desert. So in order for them to patrol the area or interject the caravans and convoys and stuff, they had to what we call to play a masquerade, where they dressed up as mujahideen. And in fact, when they would be traveling, there'd be mujahideen, like observation post would come out and wave at them and then tell them, don't go that way, Shuravi is that way. They called Soviet Shuravi. Don't go that way, that kind of stuff. But that's why I put it on. But this particular uniform was issued with mainly to border guard units. And they even had the berets.
Look at there. The matching berets too. Now, do you have a collection of camouflage like you do knives?
Yes, I do.
You don't consider yourself a collector, but you do. You collect them?
I do, yes. Well, I started collecting because I wanted to collect everything I was issued when I was in service. Sort of like this nostalgic thing. It kind of hit me hard when my first son was born. And like saying, it's been such a big part of my life, and yet my kids might not know about it. So I started collecting and sort of like the stuff that I was issued.
Okay.
And I think my collection is now expanded. But so few things to see about this. Do you see this thingies?
Let me focus in on you there. Okay, show us what you're showing. Yeah, the little flaps on the shoulder.
Right, and they also are on the hood as well.
Your light sucks. Hold it on the other side.
Yeah, right here.
Hold it other side of your body. Yeah, your light's better right there. Yeah.
Mm. And these things are actually a little tubing where you stick your the twigs from around where you are trying to cut. What's that?
No, I'm following. I'm tracking now what you're saying. I said that's where you put your pin.
Yeah, right. No, that's where you put. Let's see if I can kind of demonstrate.
So they're slots that are built into the clothing, so you can add the natural.
You could put the grass, the blades of grass. You can put the
natural surroundings on you.
Exactly, and kind of concealed around the area of your noggin, so it doesn't stick out.
Right.
And that's an earlier version of a camo, following the KZM outfit that you're wearing. But anyway, back to history.
Back to history, and before we get to history, I want to kind of go over this too, because as the camouflage is developing, I mean, we're getting different patterns and different styles, and they're being grouped into families. I use the finger quotes, and the different families that we have of camouflages. We have brush stroke, we have chocolate chip, we have digital patterns, we have DPM, disruptive pattern material, duck hunter. We got the fleck. Is it Flecktarn? Flecktarn? That's the German one. You got leaf, you got lizard, you got puzzle, you got rain, splinter, tiger stripe, and woodland are the different pattern families that we're seeing here. And then within those families, you've got, it branches out from there. But I just kind of want to throw that out there to give our listeners a little something to think about as we're talking about these patterns as they develop. So go ahead, Marco.
Marty, I amongst those terms that you just
the families,
families that but you threw the terms in there, such as woodland, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Woodland is actually officially adopted description of a particular full color pattern. Everything else is like the puzzle and all that stuff. It's all modern terms that have been in the last 20 years assigned to different camo patterns to describe what they are. Right.
The term woodland is generally applied to the U.S. M81 woodland camouflage pattern introduced in 1981, which itself was derived from the M1948 Erdl pattern and all of its derivatives. The U.S. woodland camouflage design retained the same colorway as a second generation Erdl design with 60% enlargement of the original drawings. The M81 woodland pattern has been one of the most duplicated and modified camouflage patterns ever designed, seeing service with military forces around the world, continuing to be worn today. So when they say families, like, this is kind of the starting point of several other camos that derived from it. Is
right.
I guess.
Here's a good example, by the way. I don't know if let's see if my camera can pick this up. So both of these are wrong way. Both of these are woodland camo, right? This is more like this one is more of a US pattern. It's a 4-color pattern. And this is early early Russian, I'm sorry, in 1990s, 3-color woodland.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, the
family, and then you've
family
got
of patterns.
Is that VSR Dubok?
Dubok, yeah.
Dubok, yeah. Okay, sorry if I mispronounced it. I apologize.
No, it's all right. Dubok is dub is oak in Russian. So it's kind of easy to remember. Dubok.
Dubok, yeah, Dubok.
But Dubok means a smaller oak.
Oh, okay.
In Russian. Dubok. So anyway, moving on to like World War I, and because this is when the sniping started to develop, and simply because of the stalemates across the lines with the trenches and stuff, and barbed wire, no man's land, and nobody has if they have a parity in machine guns, then they have no advantages. So it's basically a stalemate across a several 100-meter no man's land. And that's when the sniping becomes more of a sort of like a tactics and a weapon in demand. You know, and so with that, to cross across and it's constantly, you know, the optics are developing. So giant binoculars, they're looking across the no man's land. So to across those vast areas of flat land, you're going to have something. And the early types of camouflage starting to develop by all sides. And I would say, you know, allies as far as like, you know, England and France and stuff, not Russia so much, and the Germans as well.
Yeah.
And so also that reappearance of the ghillie suits, the first original ghillie suits, started to pop up in the front lines as well, trying to conceal the shape and silhouettes.
So
basically
Lefty,
break them up.
Lefty, I don't know if you could pull it up, but on Marco's note with the World War I snipers, there's a really interesting piece at the Imperial War Museum, IMW, and it's literally a Burberry jacket. I kid you not, it's a Burberry trench coat that's been cammed up by a sniper, and there's a veil that goes along with it. If you just look up like World War I sniper suit, it's like a trench coat, and it's like painted. I don't know if you can pull that up, but that's a really, because a lot of them are like ditched after the war, so we don't have. There's a lot of photographic evidence of some of the original ghillie suits and stuff being used, but we don't. There's very few physical examples, and that's one of the few. It's in London in the Imperial War Museum. I don't know if you see it, and it looks really. I wonder if you can. Oh yeah, there it is on the far left, second row, or actually second one, right?
This one.
Yeah. Click that guy. That guy's nut. That's it. And it's literally just like a Burberry trench coat that, in a pinch, you know, because it wasn't standardized, right? This wasn't something that, and I think there's another picture of it above it too. But basically, you can see, yeah, there it is as well. It's there's some probably better pictures of it, but you know, people can look this up. It's literally a Burberry trench coat, a very makeshift canvas hood. But basically, it's just this canvas that's all been painted up, just paint splatters.
Canvas with a Halloween eyes and mouth.
Yeah, Halloween eyes. Yeah,
like you're doing a Casper the Ghost kind of.
Yeah, there you go, Casper the Ghost. It's yeah. There we go. That's the best way to describe it. But the jacket there is just a Burberry trench jacket, right?
Okay. Well, I'd zoom in on it. It opens another screen and it doesn't share it on yours. So
yeah,
but yeah, you guys can Google that.
Yeah, just Imperial War Museum. It's very interesting piece. But that's, you know, it's very makeshift. You'll see it's, you know, these first ghillie suits and stuff. The few examples that exist are that's an interesting one.
Experimental. I mean, you talk about they're trying to break up the line. So the picture that I pulled up is an experimental one. It's just this guy's got it looks like a white suit, and they've just printed some. There's your Z, Marco. He's got a big Z on his chest.
Yeah, he does. So it's just like, you know, articles of clothing and whatever paint you can kind of splatter on in weird ways initially. And then you see in the Second World War, it's a lot more developed. So there's a pretty famous one. I think those are Canadian snipers. If you go up slightly on the, just go up. There's the two guys and they're looking at each other smiling. If you go up. I saw them. There they are. Those guys on the right, those guys are Canadians. I forgot from which specific regiment, but those are two Canadian snipers during the Second World War. Yes, from what I understand, that they are Canadians. It's from some of the big propaganda series they showed of the sniper training happening in England.
A pair of military snipers display the concealment effects of ghillie suits in the field. It doesn't say.
I believe it is 48th Highlanders. But yeah, there's another photo there.
The word ghillie, as Marco was pointing out earlier, is Gaelic Scottish, translating to lad or boy, and refers to an outdoor helper to the gamekeeper. The more fantastical origin story involves the wild Scottish ghillie de, a spirit dressed in a coat of leaves that hid in trees to avoid capture. So there you go.
Here's an example of World War II kind of ghillie suit. It's definitely not Russian. However, the person who's in that ghillie suit, in his hands, he's got SVT-40 Russian rifle.
Okay.
Soviet rifle.
Cool.
Let me ask you this, because I don't know what your side of the screen looks like. Is there a present button? Do you have like where you can share your screen?
No, we don't.
You don't have that on your side?
I have a present button, but I'm running it off a different device.
Actually, no, I do have I have a present button.
Okay. You can share your screen if you do that. If you hit
here's
that.
a group of Russian snipers, and it's the different type of uniforms.
There's a bunch of kids there, but those are real rifles that they've got. They probably did put them in battle, didn't they?
But anyway.
Conscripts. The conscripts. So I've completely lost where we were.
All right. So we were talking about, we're kind of like doing the
getting up into World War II now, right?
World War II, yes.
Yeah, let's move into World War II. So,
okay.
The two comments that I'll make, one for from the Russian side, and the other one is for the German side. And Germans had more variety of camouflage. Some of them would, for their Luftwaffe paratroopers and stuff, and some of them for actually designated to the SS or home defense troops, right? And the one that you were talking about, Fleck type of family, was worn not necessarily, well, they were the outfits or coveralls that you would put over a soldier, but there were also elements of gear or loadout that you carry with you that would have those patterns. And I just happened to have actually a butt pack that was taken by one of the USGIs of a dead and decomposing SS trooper.
A non-performing trooper.
Yeah, there's few spots of bodily fluids and stuff. And
do you have it right? You've got it to show right now, or you've got it somewhere in your collection? You don't have to go get it. I just thought you had it. You were going to hold it up. So that's cool.
It was. I got it with the on one of the auctions. I got like a duffel bag full of all kinds of holsters and things like that, and one of the items was one of those camos.
And there's the Fleck Tarn. It's Fleck Tarn.
Okay, so on the Soviet side, there was one that was issued to the reconnaissance troops as well as snipers and stuff, and it was pants and a jacket. The jacket is oversized to give an appear to break up the silhouette and shape, and it was what I refer to as amoeba design. It's basically more of a like a regular khaki tarp, similar to this color right here that I'm wearing, and a maroon or brown splatters on it that look like a amoeba. You know, if you know what amoeba looks like,
right?
And I mean, you can probably bring it up on your screen. That
like it'd be called like amoeba cape or something.
Yeah, but they weren't a cape. They were actually
it was a full on
suit.
Yeah, it was a full on like suit. Yeah.
Right, and again, it also had an.
That's
there
it.
You go.
That's it. Yeah.
The one on the left is the proper one. Not one on the right was not the case. This is more modern reproduction, I bet. But the one on the left is the one. And then it was somewhat effective. Anything green, because you don't have the desert type of areas where you fought the Germans in the Eastern Front. It was always either wooded area or a green type of prairie with a lot of green grass and stuff. So that was the this is more of a probably later reproduction rather than original.
I was seeing if it told me. It doesn't tell me.
Yeah, it's
I
just
don't
a
know if that
reproduction.
works.
Because if it was used in the combat, that green would have already been close to white, because you got to wash it all the time. You're in the sun and the snow, whatever. Not snow per se, but in the dirt.
Oh, can
This
you see
is
that?
more.
Okay,
There you go. This is
that's the show that what Marco was saying. It's oversized, so there's no silhouette of a person, right? It because it's so big.
And then you got the hood, which is actually not from around your collar, but from your shoulders, and that baffle right there in front is also oversized. So you could, basically once you in the behind the rifle, you can even misshape yourself, so to speak, even more.
Yeah, makes sense. And I saw the little mesh thing.
And it's a screen.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much it. I found an interesting picture. I was gonna show you how the Lend-Lease stuff worked.
So what are we looking at? You're holding up
Sherman
looks like a
tank
plow.
being used as a tractor.
Yeah, just a Sherman being used as a plow.
But they saw value in the cannons, so they removed the turrets and put them up along the defensive lines as additional artillery pieces.
Okay.
But the tanks themselves were widely used as tanks and also as tractors.
As tractors, multi-purpose, making the most of what they have.
And in 2003, Russia paid every last penny of that Lend-Lease, actually.
They did what now?
They repaid the Lend-Lease. In 2003, they covered it.
Wow.
100%.
Took a little
whatever
bit.
U.S. supplied during World War II, it wasn't just because of the goodness of our heart. It was, you pay us when you can type of deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on.
Move on. Yeah.
So if you bring that page again.
Which one?
The one that we had the amoeba on, the pictures of the amoeba, and then there were two other pictures.
Okay.
Below it.
Gotcha. I'm bringing that up. Oh, I brought it up from here. So this website I'm on is Camopedia, Leadheads. I'm Camopedia, and they've got a list of all the countries, the different families.
Yeah, Camopedia is like the best source out there.
Right there.
That's very good.
Right there.
Okay. So now we're into.
In this case, the one on the right is a correct pattern. One on the left is probably reproduction. So this is following the World War II pattern. Once they start issuing to reconnaissance troops and scouts, they start issuing this one-piece overalls that you would put over your uniform and then put your belt over it and whatever the loadout is over there. And that was the first pattern that was issued. And the problem was they didn't have enough green in it to be, let's say, it worked perfectly fine in the sunny, bright day, but in a more overcast and cloudy day, it was too bright, so it stood out a little more.
Hence, is this the MKK? Is that what we're looking at here? The MKK?
Yeah. And then
it's known as the summer camouflage. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so then we so it wasn't the World War II camouflage. It was following the World War II. It's the 50s, and so. And then the Russians, being pragmatic as they are, they start looking into it, and hence the first digital pattern appeared, which is this. Yeah, they played with that, but that wasn't it. It's too busy again. So
Yeah.
it's this right here, and there were variations of it. What you wearing is one of them, which they came in two different basic colors. One was like a almost mustard yellow base with the yellow pattern, and then yours is more of like a dark green with the yellow pattern.
Hold
And
that
this
hat up
stu-
again.
Oh, and
So Marco, your light's coming in from your left. So if you kind of tilt it a little bit, the light will hit that and you can see it better. It looks
well,
like.
it's the same what I'm wearing. If you can see the what I'm wearing,
Okay, so that's the one. Okay.
it's the same thing, part of the same outfit.
Just a little pro tip: next time you hold something up, just kind of tilt it a little
To
bit.
my
So it hits the
left.
light.
So let's try it. Which way?
Yeah.
This way?
Just kind of like angle with your hands yeah.
Oh,
So
I
so
see.
you
I see
can
what you
reflect
mean.
the light. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
So anyway, the first widely issued, I guess, uniform was what you're wearing. It's called KZM, right? The outfit.
KZM. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's two-piece. It was highly popular in Afghanistan, especially during the summer, because it's kind of
Green
like
colors.
yeah, you can breathe. We call the nickname cheese clothes, and oftentimes
Aerated a little bit so you can doesn't hold the heat in.
the hood is like bulky, and nobody really in my unit wore helmets. So usually you just cut it off, and what you make out of it is you make the helmet cover.
Okay.
Using a thread
put
and
it
needle
directly
to
on
sew
your
in the
directly on your helmet.
elastic around it and fit it over a helmet. Yeah.
Right.
Again, that's the same concealment. You got the same veil. What I would do is I put that veil on, and then I rest it on the top of my PSO scope.
Right. Now, Marco, were all the troops issued this camo or just certain units?
No, only scouts and, of course, the special forces, Spetsnaz. So we had this stuff.
Gotcha.
And
so this is
it's beloved.
And what was this called again?
KZM.
The KZM. Okay.
So an interesting asks there, Lefty. Like, as Marco said, only specific units were issued camo. That was the case in the First World War. It was obviously only like scouts and snipers that were issued ghillie suits and stuff. It wasn't every single soldier. Now, every soldier had maybe khaki, but not full-on ghillie suit or camouflage, and that was the case certainly in the U.S. as well, right? And even with the Germans in the Second World War, not everybody, unless you're in a Fallschirmjäger unit or you're in a specific Luftwaffe unit, a specific SS unit, you weren't issued PDOT, you weren't issued Splinter Turn or Sumpturn. All these, iconic German World War II camos were not issued. Most guys were in field grau, gray, right? German gray. And that was the case in the U.S. too, with certain units like the Marine Raiders and stuff. And I know on D-Day, some of the 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne Pathfinders actually painted kind of like a dark green, black, like hand paint over their jump smocks. The British had denizen smocks, but again, only for airborne troops. But most guys were wearing just, American GIs were wearing OD later in the war after D-Day, and prior to that, khaki, right? And with the I think it was the 40 pattern jacket, the zip-up jacket that they had prior to the M1943. I think it was called the 41 jacket. But one second, I'll see if I can pull up one thing here, which is from the American side. I don't know. I hope this works. Do you see that?
I can add it. Hold on.
Okay, 1 second. There we go. So there's some American Marines wearing their Raiders, so kind of an elite commando style unit, right? Mm-hmm. Very heavily inspired by the British commandos who had been formed earlier in the war. I think this is 1943, I think Bougainville. It's a pretty well-known photo of Marines wearing the iconic frog skin camo. So, which later developed into Duck Hunter, as you mentioned, as one of the family groups, right?
Yeah.
So it's issued. 1 second. I'll see if I can pull up the other slide here. Of where are we? There we go. Frog skin. So this is just off like Wikipedia, so not the best. I have an original somewhere in the back, but I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it out. But there we go. Just frog skin. That's what it looks like. That's what the coloration looked like.
That's
a lot more.
If any of our listeners are old like me, and you had the old the big GI Joes, the big tall GI Joes, that's the camo that they had for those GI Joes.
Yeah,
figures.
basically that's it. That's
Like
the GI Joe
first.
camo. Yeah.
Next,
So
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there's just one more I got to show because it's kind of interesting, this one, and I think there's a pretty well-known photo of a guy in the 2nd Armored Division wearing that camo, actually in the European Theater of Operations. But the issue with like why a lot of guys ended up not wearing this or ditching them, even though they were issued them for if they're in the specific units, is it looked really, really similar to the German P dot pattern. So, which was issued to the SS. So obviously, you see a guy at distance and he's just wearing this camo, and everybody else is in OD or khaki. And it's the Second World War, and the fronts are right in front of you. Everybody in front of you is the enemy, right? So you're liable to get shot for sure if you're wearing that pattern. So these were ditched in large part to at least by the guys that were actually issued them the European Theater of Operations. But in the Pacific, obviously, the Japanese were all wearing khaki, right, or some kind of off-white.
Yeah.
So as a result, it saw a lot more use there. But still, during this period, it was all specialist units. In this case, this guy was a tanker. That's why he got issued it. And it was always specialist units, and it's large part because unlike the Germans, who had actually very, very advanced textile production like tradition and industry, the American one was really, 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 really far behind as far as like being able to actually do, I guess, like the water-based production of the dyes and stenciling. It was just not very cost effective to do camo, and I would imagine it was the same in the Soviet Union. I don't know how far advanced their textile productions like capabilities were, but case in point, in the U.S., I think it was University of North Carolina put out a pretty good article, like peer-reviewed article about all this. But there were like for print, like pressing like a dye onto fabric, there were machines from 1906 that were still used into the 1970s. Like this technology
didn't change much. It's still the same thing.
It was still the same thing, and it wasn't till kind of like the 70s where the text just really started to change because the labor forces started to change. So obviously people didn't want to pay a huge body, at least in the US. I can't really speak outside the US, but in the US, the inclination was we have all these like manual laborers that we're currently paying, but they're slowly getting unionized. And how do we cut costs? Well, we just got to make the machines better because we haven't had any need to update them since like prior to World War I, since right after the Civil War. So as a result, that's why we start jumping into the M81s, right? The U.S. Woodland, where every single soldier was issued that camouflage, and it was a kind of a long process, and a lot of the reason why it wasn't issued earlier was because of just tech, right? There's no need to innovate.
Just a few things to add to the U.S., right? So, though there might have been difficulties and everything, but you got to give them a credit where credit is due, because 100% of soldiers who fought in the Pacific had the camo covers for their helmets.
Yes.
Which the first thing that sticks out of the trench or around is your helmet. And if you talk about Rangers and some airborne units, they had camo netting on the helmets, A, to break up the sheen and shine, but B, it could be used that you can put the grass or leaf or something in that netting to break up the silhouette of the helmet. So those two things the U.S. did well. Not, let's say, issuing the 100% of the force with the camo uniforms, but at least the helmets were. This is another interesting picture.
So we got a female unit here.
All snipers.
All snipers, and they don't really have camo, but they've got like
They've got the amoeba. Yeah, they got the amoeba.
I got to put my glasses.
Yeah, they've got amoebas on.
Okay, yeah, I see it now.
And then another while we're doing show and tell. So the main address of
I thought you were showing us your Arctic camo when you pulled your hat off there.
Yeah, that happened to me naturally. So you have this garrison cap right here, known as a pilot's hat, pilotka, right? And it has, if you use it properly, it has these flaps on both sides. See that?
He's reaching up to the top.
And it was supposed to be to go over your ears and stuff when it's cold and stuff, but in reality,
it doesn't even get close to your ears.
No, if you unfold it, it does. If you unfold it.
I thought what you did was you unfolded it.
So they used, a lot of soldiers, the scouts used these two flaps, but for stuffing grass and stuff in here, and twigs to break up their silhouette as well.
That's where I'd put my Snickers.
That's where you carry your thread and needle. And God forbid, if you don't have it, you pull the KPE, kitchen duty.
Your thread and needle?
Yeah, thread and needle. Two of them.
Standard issue.
The white and the green.
We got to work on your lighting. I've told you that before.
On my what? Lighting?
Your lighting.
I have a studio lights.
You need one of those.
Because we do it once a month, I don't want to set it up.
You need one of those streaming. I'll send you
circle.
I'm going to make a note here to send you one of those. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so after the war and learning the lessons from the war, and again, I guess the approach of Soviets to camouflage was in line with what I was saying before. It's minimalistic, right? And like, why would anyone in the right mind use orange bakelite for their magazines and their guns? And why would they use this bright, almost orange, brown furniture for their AK rifles? And the simple answer to that is all the colors other than black, right, occur naturally in nature.
Yeah.
Which orange included, brown included, light brown included. Black usually stands out because there's no natural black in nature.
No natural black, but you have black in the what is that called? The dead areas? The negative spaces. The negative spaces you have.
Oh, now you're talking quantum physics, antibody, and all that?
Yeah.
No.
I'm talking negative spaces between patterns. Yeah.
Not really. They might have been dark gray, could be I don't know, could be dark blue or something, but it's not the black.
Yeah.
It's not black. So you have to produce.
But do you ever really get black? I mean, this hat's black, but it's really not black. Yeah,
it's already like gray.
I've got like 5 different shades of black on this hat.
You mean 50 shades?
50 shades of black. Your favorite novel.
But seriously, so the approach was minimalistic. So I will challenge you right now, there, Marty.
Okay, challenge me.
Okay, if there's now it's probably not too green outside, right? With the
no, not at all. I mean,
February, but when the spring starts to come in, and all the bushes get their leaves and stuff green, and on a sunny day, wear that KZM you're wearing right now, and come out and just stand next to a bush, you would immediately blend in. It's that freaking. It's that.
And I've got some pictures. I did take some pictures out when I was at the farm shooting this past weekend. I took the PM63 out and got to put my first rounds through it, and it shot flawless on semi-auto. And I know you've got a full auto, Marco, so go ahead and rub it in if you want to. I took the PPS.
So far, not impressive. Your story is not impressive.
It's not impressive because it was semi-auto.
So
it was impressive to me because I wasn't expecting it to run as well as it did. I didn't have any issues, no misfeeds. I probably did 100 rounds through it. Just poo, just to see how it would perform. It did good. The PPS 43, I put the new bolt in it, and it ran great. Ran flawless. Again, semi-auto, Marco. I know you got full auto, but and I took the 5.56 out. But I wore this camo. I wore this other camo that you see over my other shoulder.
Yeah. That's the one piece, right?
Yeah, that's the pajama piece back there. Yeah. And I took some photos, and I posted them up on the questions post that I did, and I'll post some up with the show posting too that I did. I think I sent you a couple of pictures too.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and that's when you said you didn't think that this one was authentic, the pajamas.
Yeah, it's a reproduction. I'll show you the authentic here in a second.
Yeah, but even in February, it provided, enough disruption in the in the nature that I was in that it blended in, and I was, from afar I would have been camouflaged.
But if you look at those patterns, right? You look at those spots, the light yellow spots. Yeah. They got sharp edges, correct?
It looks like it's more like a digital. Yeah, it's like a digital.
Right. Yeah. This is 1950s. So the Soviets designed it in the 50s, knowing that we see our eyes work in the pixels.
Yeah, so that one's digital too.
Yeah. So is this, right? So you can see the sharp edges. So our eyesight, we see bunch of square lines together to make the round thing. So we see in pixels, sort of like an early plasma TV or something. Right. But so that just goes to show you how far this digital pattern kind of goes back, right? Too. Yeah. And so
would you say they're the first to do digital?
Absolutely. I mean, somebody can throw a rock at me trying to dispute this point, although it would just bounce off on me anyway. But anyway, so in Afghanistan, the border along the Soviet, which is Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan borders, there were forwarded units that provided the sort of buffer zone to secure the border. So they were advanced border guard units, which were under the KGB, right? The Committee of State Security Committee. That's who supervised the border guards. But anyway, and those guys did exactly the same thing. They interjected caravans. The whole thing of border guard is being concealed and invisible, so on and so on. So their Afghan uniform in the later wars of Afghanistan campaign and in the later stages was this.
Let me switch to you. Hold on. All right.
So
and what is
basically
this?
What you're wearing, but more of in the uniform pattern. So they were issued with this type of uniform, and it was very popular. If you run into them like we did, we ran into two different units. We would be trading our striped shirts, for some of their uniforms. Like
where can I get one of those striped shirts? The famous white and blue.
I might have one that's new.
A brand new one?
I think so. I'll let you know after this.
Probably wouldn't fit me though.
No, it'll probably fit you better than it fits me now. Anyway. but we work.
And what is that called? I mean, that's not really camo, but you see that a lot in Russian uniforms in the olden days. The white and the blue stripe, vertical stripe.
It's called
Stripe. Sorry.
telnashka. Telnashka. And the root there is tel for word telo, which means your body. So it's sort of like a body shirt. But it was issued with this pattern, with this colors, issued to airborne units only.
Okay.
And
It seems
since Spetsnaz didn't have its own uniform, they were supplied as an airborne unit.
Gotcha. And those were tight fitting, like you said, body, kind of like body. They were
Not
designed.
necessarily. It's like a tank top, but the only thing was a higher collar,
Yeah.
and kind of wider shoulder. I don't know if you
Gotcha.
can see it.
Yeah.
And
Like a tank top. Like you said, like a tank top.
and it was part of the uniform that you wore, even your a parade or everyday uniform. So part of your neck will be covered by that pattern.
And why? What was the purpose in covering the neck?
It's just showing. Otherwise you had to. All the infantry guys had to button up all the way up to the neck, right?
Right.
In this case, the airborne units were actually had a free
Didn't
collar,
have
and
to
it was
button up all the way.
like a crew neck type of a wedge.
Didn't want to show that gorilla hair. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, to not to show all the hair in their chests.
So
But
this
anyway,
is this a World War II pattern that we're up to now? There's this pattern.
No, we kind of passed by it. We just did a little excursus back to the World War II. But
okay.
So now we're talking about the modern warfare, so to speak, and then this particular pattern of camouflage remained as a prevalent in the Soviet military up until the late 80s and 90s, where it was clear that Soviet Union was going to be separating, and then the new modern Russian army would emerge from it. Yeah. Which, of course, when you break something, you start to build it from the brick, the foundation up. Of course, Russia in the 90s did not live through a good times. Let's put it that way.
And now we're to the technology age of where we're getting into some night vision capabilities.
Night vision capabilities. Actually, the World War II was the first use of infrared lighted night vision capability. Soviets bought into it heavily, and they had the first AKs with the little side relief back in the early 50s, where they would have this large freaking IR lamp, so to speak, lighting up the area of target area, and then you had
like one of those lighthouse things you see on a lighthouse.
Yeah, it literally was about this big.
Yeah,
and it kind of switched to what they call starlight technology, which basically it took any source of light that you can, including the starlight, the light from the stars, moon, any kind of maybe a street light somewhere, and multiplied it, enhanced it by 10 million times.
10 million, holy cow.
Yeah, and you would generate that black and green pattern, I guess. And it to some point, I mean, I still do shoot through my Generation 3 scopes, which I have several. I have 4, the original Soviet scopes, and they work really well. And when I taught the sniper school,
still working. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. When I taught a sniper school, we had between day 2 and 3, we had a night fire exercise, which we shot at the targets as far as 400 meters, which it's kind of like reaching to end of capability.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, especially when we didn't have like, let's say it was overcasted or something. It's kind of hard to see. And the one way that you can use it, and whoever's listening, you can still use the Starlight technology scopes, and you can determine where the target is. Because let's say it's a black target. If you start just swaying your gun, like imitating the movement of a target, movement is what is pretty much gives you away against the night vision. Not the thermal is self-explanatory, but if you sway your gun back and forth, imitating the movement, you should be able to distinguish the stationary black target. But anyway,
so I guess my point in bringing up the night vision is, at what point did militaries realize that, okay, now we've got to defeat, not just normal sniper scope, now we got to defeat this type technology?
Correct. Let me check out for just a second to grab 2 more items.
Okay.
I got something you can pull up on screen there. Speaking of Starlight.
Oh, by the way, I do have a modern dog pattern camo. Let me demonstrate. Oh, you can't see it. It was my pants. Anyway, I'll show you.
Okay.
We don't want to see your doors, Marco.
So there's a Korean War era Starlight scope. Wow. I think in answer, my opinion to your question of when night vision became more of a concern was when night vision became smaller, because it's something to mention. Starlight scopes are huge, and that's on a M1 carbine, obviously, so it's a bit of a smaller platform. But that's I took this picture actually at the what's it called,
that museum,
the big one in Wyoming, right? The big, the mega firearms museum, right? So Starlights the original Starlights were pretty huge.
So
this is a picture I took last summer in Wyoming. Shit, what's the name of that museum? I gotta, they're super cool.
So this is the night vision that you were talking about, Marco, right?
Yeah, correct. Starlight. So both the Soviets and the Americans developed them almost at the same time. Also, the Starlight scopes that we talked about were developed almost at the same time for Vietnam War use on M16s.
Yeah.
And the Soviet model was by far more.
So I got the name of the museum now. I want to make sure. Cody, Wyoming's Museum of the West, right? It's
correct.
One of the biggest firearms museums in the world. So I took this picture. The Starlight, I think it's actually plugged into an external battery. This is not, I wouldn't say this is optimal for a recce patrol, a recon patrol or anything, because it's just so large. It's more of a static position. You have a few hundred Chinese soldiers coming up a hill in Korea, right?
I've had the curator of that museum on the show.
Yeah. So I'm sure he'll.
We had the round tables there.
Ashley.
What's her name? Hebliz something.
Yeah, Ashley H.
Yeah.
Heblinsky, I think. But yeah, it's
She's been on a lot of History Channel shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. So she knows her stuff, but that's the one that actually at that museum, the one Starlight example. I don't know if it's a particularly special Starlight. Some other stuff there is very special, but night vision doesn't become smaller for a few. It's more of at least in my opinion. I'm not an expert on night vision, but it seems to me to be more of a static position thing. So it's not in every scenario where night vision is something that needs to be defeated. Now, interestingly, I've got a weird.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Right back.
I've got a bit of a weird one to show you.
All right, let's see it.
And maybe, I don't know, you'd have to ask Fidel Castro what he was thinking when he got people to develop this. And maybe this.
I don't think he's around anymore.
Camo. Yeah, I know. So this is a really interesting one, Cuban gray lizard. And what I'm wearing right now, the Rhodesian brushstroke, basically on the other side of that war, at least in Southern Africa, with Soviet aligned forces, or Soviet or Chinese aligned forces, the Cuban troops and Soviet advisors wore this particular camo, Cuban gray lizard. So this is a mint condition original.
Nice.
That I have here.
Was that Fidel's?
And, like, there's a lot of pictures actually. If you look up Fidel visiting troops in Angola in the 80s, it comes up quite a bit. Let me see if I can find the camo in action here. If I can share the screen. Cuban.
What are you holding up there, Marco? While he's pulling that.
Yeah.
Here's a Generation 3, a Soviet-made 1 PN 58, the Starlight.
Oh, you have one.
Yeah,
I have,
that's
pretty.
That's super cool.
I have 2 of this, and I have the 34s, 2 34s.
Wow.
Now, if
so it mounts to a regular side mount right here. Either it's SVD or your AK-74 or AKM. The turrets, I don't know if you can tell. Oh, okay. Let's see if you can. Where my fingers are, right here.
Yeah. You're pointing toward the
right there. It says SVD, but it comes with several turrets that you can replace. I guess the scales that you can replace. It's RPK, PKM, RPK 74.
Depending on the rifle that you're using it on, then they've got the
correct
adapters for that.
So this right here is diaphragm, so you can use it at daytime by opening or closing it, right? And then at night, this is your lens.
Okay.
So at that time when this was developed and being issued to the troops,
can you still get that?
Union,
you find surplus of those, or
no?
Possible to find?
I mean, I'm willing to sell at least one of them. Anybody wants? But it still works, and it works really great. The only thing is what's kind of like a hard to find is rechargeable batteries.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is it a built-in battery or is it an external battery? It's a built-in. So
it's external batteries.
Okay.
It's basically a giant tablet type battery, like and they encase in this case right here. However, when David Fortier and I went to NPZ, which is the optics plant in Novosibirsk back in I want to say like 2008 or something, I brought up a subject and said I got a couple of the scopes, and the guy goes, "I got you," and he gives me this container that looks exactly like this. When you open it up, you can put 3 AA's in it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I have that.
I was going to say, is it impossible to get those batteries, but they've done an adapter to where you can use modern day batteries on it?
Well, that's what he gave me essentially while I was there. But I also have old charger that was actually plugged into the BTR or BMP.
Oh.
While you were in the back, and I would charge these batteries. I still have that. I rewired it for regular car, 12 volt.
Nice. That's nice.
And so I can charge it in the car or in a special adapter where I can plug it on the wall. But it still works, and it's clear as day. No, it's clear as a starlight scope.
And that could be part of the Marco experience. So when we get that,
absolutely, it's no doubt about it. Nice. But like I said, I have all kinds of things that you can shoot. So, and as of late, we have RPG-7.
Yeah, you mentioned that the last show. You held it up. So yeah.
Yes. So back to this one-piece camo, and this is the true color of it. It's green with gray pattern. Okay. Also, it has.
And what is this called?
This is called KLMK.
KLMK. Okay.
So it also has this thingies, right?
Back it up a little bit, and then the light is coming from top, so tilt it so we can see there.
So that's where you put your grass and twigs and stuff in it. Actually, I do have a, let me see if I have a picture of it I can share. But what you have here, right, it's a 70s design, and the use of starlight scopes already in, you know, in wide swing. So when you turn it inside out, what CJ was showing, the American parka for anti night vision pattern, this particular outfit also, if you turn it inside out, it becomes, I don't know if you can see the pattern, the mash with the spots, right?
Yeah,
that's a combat the night vision.
The night vision. Okay, so they had to answer my question, they had already considered this and were developing counters to night vision. Okay,
correct.
And this
so
was
let me see if I can find
the 50s,
this.
right? This was the 50s.
No, it was more like late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
And again, it's just because like the early 50s era starlights are huge. Like comparative even to what Marco had, like that one there at the Museum of the West is like huge. It's
like
ridiculous.
Hank, it's two different generations. The one that's the one that you saw on the mounted on M1 carbine, and the same one that the Soviets were using. Those were that large lamp or projector looking thing. It's actually IR, is the infrared source, and the scope itself picked up the lit up target. This one right here does not use IR at all. It uses that multiplication from stars and moon and stuff.
It amplifies
and multiplies it by 10 million or more, whatever. And so it's a different technology. Now, modern night vision, which we say, oh, it's generation 5, it's light years ahead, it uses IR lighting source again. And you know what happens in my scope, PS01 scope on my SVD rifle, I had a little screen that I can flip, and then I would see the IR sources. And oftentimes you would they look like a tiny little Christmas lights through that scope. And all I have to do is position my lit up reticle right on that light and pull a trigger. So the IR is IR works both ways, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So you can somebody can trace you to the source of that IR illumination.
Well, let's move on to the camo, because we got to get to listener questions and do all that too. So
okay,
let's move on.
I got this guy. I think it's still up on screen. The guy's actually wearing this stuff.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting. So there's Cuban troops here in Angola in the 80s. So they were against the South Africans in the African, brushfire conflicts during the Cold War. So you see these guys wearing it. Here's another kind of black and white. One sec. Let's see if I can pull up this one here too.
Sure.
It's another black and white photo of these guys wearing Cuban soldiers, Angola 1. Yeah, there we go. This guy. So these guys with this scrim helmets. So this was widely utilized by the Cuban forces that were actually fighting in Africa at the time, and issued to any Soviet advisors that happened to be attached to them, because there were a few different points. I got another thing here. It's kind of it's an East German pattern. It's kind of an interesting. One second. Let's see if I can open it up. Oops, it's all flipping out on me. There we go. So this is an East German pattern. It's called Stricktarnmuster, which means just raindrop. There we go. So this one was also very, very common. It was issued to the East German military as kind of their own standard issue pattern. It's not the best pattern in the world, but it was very commonly used by
very subtle.
It's very, very subtle. It's still like quite popular today because there's still a lot of surplus of it available out there. But
almost like
basically
a tree bark kind of deal.
Yeah, very similar to like almost like, I think there's like a tree bark mossy oak or whatever. Like it's really similar to that, almost just more rudimentary. But this is my example. It's somewhere deep in my library somewhere, but this is actually my shirt, a picture of it. And basically it was issued to the various like I guess you could say like, actually, I guess you could just say like communist factions in Southern Africa at the time. So Zipra, Frelimo, the ANC, Zanla, all these like guys in Southern Africa, all these abbreviated names of just either these groups that were fighting for either independence from Portugal, or fighting the Rhodesians, or fighting the South Africans, or in the case of Southwest Africa, also again fighting for independence there. The guerrillas, the communist trained guerrillas, were very commonly seen in that particular pattern too, which is just kind of a dirtier gray, right? It's very, very German in the undertone, but yeah, it's got this weird gray to it. This is a really interesting. Hold on, let's see if I find the other thing here. So, if you're not familiar with like the ANC are basically Nelson Mandela's faction, right? Very early on, they're fighting for basically against apartheid. So this is like, it's straight up propaganda publication from 1967, Anti-Apartheid News, and it's the first time that these groups are kind of showing off their capabilities and stuff. You can see, even though it's very rudimentary and it looks like they're wearing clearly like the East German uniforms, they're making good use of like the foliage, right? And I guarantee you they had some sort of Soviet advisor, teach them this without question, because it's quite effective. So
what year was this? 1967?
1967. Yes. So very, very early on, not
Marco?
long.
Were you in Cuba in 1967, Marco?
Yes, that was my first assignment as a baby.
As a baby.
I said,
Yeah.
Googa, Googa, Gaga, stop apartheid.
Yeah. So those are very early pictures, but it was certainly utilized by the opposite side. I brought this up first because I think it's like, I've actually looked at this thing under nods because this is an original. It does pretty good, like not spectacularly, because it's an old school garment, but it does pretty good. It's never been washed, so that's probably another reason why. But on the side that I kind of focus on, the Rhodesian side, we have, of course, Rhodesian brushstroke, and there's an original shirt made by Statesman. For anybody, because there's a lot of people that are very, I guess, anal about this. like, is it a real genuine article? So there it is, Statesman. For anybody that knows, Statesman, Paramount, Traco, and John Rowlett and Sons were the only real manufacturers of the genuine article. So there you go, Rhodesian brushstroke Statesman shirt.
Yeah. What we're seeing in these camo patterns, especially as they're getting more modern, is we're seeing what's indicative of the environment that they're going to be in.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to mimic the foliage and whatnot that's in the environments that they're in.
So this particular pattern derives in large part from an earlier pattern that was adopted by the Portuguese about let's say like 5-6 years before the Rhodesian, not 5-6 years, a little bit before the Rhodesian, maybe even like 10 years before the Rhodesian conflict really kicked off. Portugal had a bunch of colonies in southern Africa, so they controlled Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau. They had a huge swath of territory going back to like the days of Vasco da Gama, circumnavigating Africa. They kept all their African colonies right up until the 1960s. And towards the end of after the death of the dictator Salazar, and kind of the end of the old regime in Portugal, the local Africans who had been living under Portuguese rule for a very long time, largely influenced by kind of Marxist liberation beliefs, kicked off a series of revolts and civil wars inside these countries. So the Portuguese got a heck of a lot of experience operating against these various insurgent groups over multiple countries. And I'm not a big expert on those particular conflicts because I don't speak Portuguese. A lot of the stuff is kind of like behind language barriers in a big way. But they developed variants of this pattern, the Portuguese lizard. They were horizontal and vertical patterns. So this one's like more like a vertical, but some of them are more horizontal.
It looks like paint brush strokes is what it looks like.
Exactly. Now this actually follows like another family of patterns called like lizard, right?
Yeah, that was
which
one of
is
the
very like French style. So the French were kind of the first to do a lizard in 1947 because they're fighting in Indochina in a very dense jungle environment, just like the Portuguese are fighting in Angola in the 1960s in a dense jungle environment. So there's the development of this particular pattern here. This is one of the few I have in my collection. It exists in like a whole bunch of different varieties and stuff. There's like different shades of it. And again, some of it is just hard to find.
I think that's what you're going to find in most of the camos is there's going to be different shades because of the different types of seasons, the different environments. Yeah.
And even like just different units would be issued different things. So inspired by that and inspired by the British Denizen smock, which was a precursor to this pattern. An artist named Diana Cameron, who's unfortunately no longer with us. She passed away from cancer, I think, in 2000, kind of like the late 2000s. She passed away from cancer, from what I understand, or 2010s. But she was a woman who lived in what was then southern Rhodesia, and she grew up there, so she understood kind of what that biome looked like. And she was commissioned by a company called David Whitehead Textiles Limited, which still technically exists today in Zimbabwe, to figure out a replacement to the aging stocks of British Denizen smock patterns, which was literally just khaki with a giant mop brush painting, greens and browns over top of it. So it was a kind of rudimentary camouflage pattern we saw a lot in the Second World War with paratroopers. So she was commissioned to like replace these aging stocks of British uniforms, create something a little more indigenous. And at the time, Southern Rhodesia was still a British colony right up until 1965. So she was just doing this around 64, right before Rhodesia kind of broke off from the British Empire because they wanted to go their own way. And they didn't want these super extremist African nationalists like Nkomo and Mugabe to get involved in politics. Anyways, whole political history, I won't get into that, but like just the camo side, Diana Cameron was told, hey, we want you to develop a pattern. So she literally went out, like looked at the biome, and she had a good eye for it. And this variants of this were the first developments. There was a more arid coloration at first, and then it got darker over time. So you see here, I have like an unwashed shirt of my pattern, which is, it's a modern cut and stuff, but
and what is the Rhodesian pattern known as? Just Rhodesian pattern?
Rhodesian brushstroke. So this is specifically second pattern Rhodesian brushstroke. There was an arid pattern at first, which was fielded. Those are really, really rare to come by now, if you can come by them at all. But basically, the first pattern, the arid pattern, was a little too deserty for the very green, lush Southern African landscape, right? So they went back to the drawing board. They tweaked the colors, but they used the same shapes. One of the very distinctive shapes in that pattern is the thunderbolt or lightning bolt, as people call it, right? And they tweaked it. They made it darker. This is obviously an original, like very, very old shirt, so it's very faded. I have some other original examples, a little tiny bit better, but they're all like, on my mannequins and stuff right now.
No, that shows.
But there's but this shirt here is basically what my other bush jacket that I'm looking at right now looks like as far as coloration. So it became a little bit darker and it works, and the greens became a little bit heavier, green over brown. And to this day, the Zimbabwean army still uses that pattern because it just, with like probably NIR compliant fabric nowadays, but like with just because it still works out there in that environment. And then there's kind of a weird development from that, which is the Transkei pattern, which is very similar to the Zimbabwean horizontal lizards. So that derived from the Rhodesian. And it's more just like a simplified hybrid between.
It's like they took the palm leaf looking design out of it.
Yeah, basically. So it's an interesting one. I figured I'd show that as well. But those are some of the original ones. And unfortunately, for the South Africans, most of their guys were wearing this, which is just Nutria Brown. Because especially in Southwest Africa, which is a very different biome than even like Mozambique or Rhodesia or Zimbabwe, there's Nutria Brown, which is just brown.
Just dirt.
Right? Dirt colored. It worked fairly well.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked fairly well. Part of the reason why they had that particular pattern was because it was a conscript army. Rhodesia was like, because so much of the Rhodesian army was black African, Shona or Nedabili, like most of the guys were volunteers. They were not conscripts. So, and it was a much smaller military, even though they didn't have the biggest budget in the world and they're facing all kinds of international sanctions. They still fielded that pattern basically to everybody, including members of the British South Africa Police. So like the National Police Force, everybody was wearing that camo with exception to INTAF, which was kind of a weird hybrid between military police and like civil servants, INTAF. So they wore khaki, but everybody else basically was in Rhodesian brushstroke throughout the course of the war. It's kind of interesting. Now, some of the South African units here, I got something pulled up on the screen because I don't have my original here, unfortunately. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I got it.
There's there's 3-2 Battalion Camo, one of the units in Southern Africa. Oh shoot, I don't know where I had other coats. I don't know where they are. They fall or something. I don't know. Anyways, I have a variant of that pattern. So, there's another guy.
And what are we looking at, Marco? Marco's holding up.
So you're looking at that KLMK one piece.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
And you got the KZM hood underneath with the veil over the head, and you could see in the arm bands, in the upper arms, there's twigs sticking out of the.
Yeah,
those.
He's got it tucked in various spots of his camouflage there. I don't think that's what
it's actually me.
Is that you?
Yeah.
What year was that?
Like.
Did you go out this weekend to do that?
No, it was like 2010 or something.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
All right. So let's do this. I know you want to show something else, but we need to move on. We kind of need to try to fast forward and get up to modern day camos so we can do our listener questions.
Oops.
We still got to do listener questions, and we're 2 hours into this. So let's go into our pulling it up to modern day here, Marco.
All right, so the U.S. went with the ACU and for the Army, and then you had the Marine and Navy and stuff. Marines went with their MARPAT, which is by digital and by far more effective than ACU. ACU, in fact, this is the pattern right here.
Yeah, the ACU. I've got some bags in that.
Right, so it's just to give you an idea. If you walk away from firing line and the person is standing there, like let's say 100 yards or further, this thing shines like a neon spotlight.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. Obviously, if you're in the field for a while and it's dirty and stuff and it starts to blend in with the dirt, but it's neither here or there for either wooded area or green, more prevalent European theater, or the sandbox, which is khakis and light browns, more beige, more
I think whoever
prevalent.
picked that was probably friends with the designer, and that's how they got chosen.
Right. So the money is shared and divided.
Exactly.
So, and like I said, the Marine Corps had the better pattern, the Marpat. It was more of like a pixelated, and they had two different patterns: the desert and the woodland kind of area. And the woodland was by far better, and the one that's the desert. Just as I said earlier, all you need is a regular khaki. You don't need to break it up in any way because you'll blend into the dirt or sand. However, the largest or the biggest development in the camo was multicam. And multicam, speaking from my personal experience, on any kind of background, whether it's desert, mountains, or even green, because in the greenery, you have a lot of underbrush that is dead branches and leaves and stuff that is not green.
Right.
Multicam from 600 yards and distinguishable if the person doesn't move against a drop of, like I said, any of those environments.
And that's the one thing in any camouflage is movement is going to give you away. That's
yeah. I mean, so, and in conclusion, the best camo pattern, bar none, by its effectiveness and stuff and concealment, is a white camo in the snow. But it comes with, I mean, literally, it's especially if it's on a sunny day or overcast day, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It reacts, the white pattern. And when you see this modern outfits made out of nylon with the black splashes and shit, I wanna ask that person who designed that, where are the freaking black splashes in the snow?
Yeah.
And as soon as you move, that black splash is gonna move. Right?
Gonna give you away.
Even if the sun is in your face and you standing there by, you can sneak up on someone with the white camo because it's literally that good. However, not without the limitations. For example, your tracks in the snow is easily visible. Yeah. Right? So you need to know how to make a loop to come to your firing position. So
well, that the two. I think we've got a listener question about that too, as far as tactics, while wearing your camo movement and stuff like that. So we'll get into that, but talk to it to the extent that you want to right now.
So that's all I want to say is like the summer camo or like all weather camo other than snow is multicam, par none at this point. Old Soviet camo, like something I'm wearing or you're wearing, is really good in the wooded areas, right? Not so much, let's say, in the deserted areas. Right. And then you got your white snow, the snow white camo, that is probably the most effective. However, just like any other piece of equipment that is on you, including your firearms, your loadout, all your vests and body armor and everything, you have to train with it and know how to use it.
Yeah. Now, and another thing that we didn't really talk a high level about, or any level at all, is the materials that it's made of. You kind of mentioned it, but the material that the camouflage is made of plays a big part also in it blending into your environment.
Obvious. Okay. So if it's I can't believe I'm talking about this stuff.
Talk about
anyway, like let's say, yeah, obviously you don't want a nylon.
Yeah.
The nylon is going to make that kind of swooshy sound as you move. Okay.
Yeah. Noise is camouflage also.
Right. So you ain't going to sneak up on someone from behind to stick them, right? like a sentry guy, somebody. But anyway,
Sound like parachute
yes,
pants.
yes. So you want you want something that is like a cotton soft, stuff, or some kind of cotton blend.
Yeah.
It's the best. And
And Marco, when I say
I mean,
parachute
the
pants, I'm
military
talking about
rip stuff is really good. What?
the 80s breakdancing pants when I say parachute pants.
Yeah, yes.
The
This is,
MC
by
Hammer.
the way, this is another subject of a private discussion between you and I, are all close friends.
The breakdancing parachute pants.
Yes.
I was quite the
But
breakdancer.
anyway, that's what I have to say. So, out.
Okay. Hank, your mic's off. You've muted yourself. And thank
Am
you
I
for doing
back?
it.
Am I back?
You're back.
Back.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. So there's some speaking of the modern, there's a few modern African pieces that are current issue that I actually have. But really quickly before I go into those and kind of talk about them very, very, very quickly here, I do want to mention 3-2 Battalion and the South African Recce's, so the South African Special Forces, rather than this brown. Because it was a big conscript army. So if you're in a regular line regiment, you're given the browns, Nutria brown. They wore like this, basically. There's my original dark recce pattern.
Okay.
So pretty cool. It derives from a pattern that was utilized by a group of guys called the Hunter Group, which were just a bunch of Army reservists that had a lot of spare time and recognized that there was going to be a need for special forces in this counterinsurgency war. So they developed their own custom pattern from that. The 3-2 Battalion / recce patterns were all developed. So they wore that. On the note of the Portuguese lizard, even though it was developed all the way in the 1960s, it has survived into the present day in the form of this variant of Portuguese lizard, which from my understanding, even though I don't speak Portuguese, but from my understanding is the current issue to their Marine Corps or Naval Infantry, the Fuzileiros Navies. So I'm probably completely butchering that pronunciation, but this is still apparently their current issue uniform.
I bet Marco speaks Portuguese. Don't you speak like 12 different languages, Marco?
See.
Okay. See. There you go. So Naval Infantry apparently still uses this unto the present day. And this is kind of an interesting one. So this was used a lot by another counterinsurgency unit in Southern Africa called Kufut, which was part of the Southwest Africa Police Force, what is now modern-day Namibia. So they used a pattern called, it just South African Police second pattern, camo.
Looks like an elephant on there, little baby elephant patterns.
Unlike like the forests of Mozambique, like Namibia is a desert, right? So this is a very desert camo. And if you I'll come really close up so you all can see that.
Yeah. Now are they using this to hunt the poachers?
So interestingly enough, this is still used by the South African Police Service, the modern South African Police Service's Special Task Force. So that's your equivalent of like SWAT, right? And they're a very weird, they're not weird, but like unique unit in that they're the only one where every single member has to be paratrooper qualified, right? So they have a very tough selection course, probably one of the toughest selection courses in the world. It's like a national SWAT force. A pretty good documentary on them on YouTube where I think it's like Bill Clinton goes to visit Mandela and they're hanging out, they're talking, they're giving their speeches, but who's there, with the sniper overwatch is Special Task Force. So to this day, their Special Task Force still uses that pattern. And they're wearing, like Cry precision check, like plate carriers and all that stuff, all your modern stuff. But that's that old pattern that is, dates back to the 80s in the Southwest Africa conflict. They still use to this day, from what I understand. And the South African Army today. So I mentioned the Zimbabwean Army still uses this basically, just with the browns over greens rather than green over brown, but it's functionally the same pattern. The South Africans, don't ask how I got this because this is illegal to own in South Africa.
I don't know what you're talking about.
this is the Soldier 2000, which is what they currently use. It's been fielded in a lot of their current deployments with, I don't know what the African equivalent of the UN, the AU or whatever, African Union or whatever. So a lot of their deployments and UN deployments as well into Central
Kind of
African
looks like
Republic.
a cross between the Amoeba, the Woodland, and Multicam.
That is right.
Again, it's break up the shape and silhouette and the environment you operate.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Africa several times and been through the entire country of Mozambique. And I'm talking about not Maputo or big old towns. I'm talking about from border to border, west, east, and then south and north in the 18-hour day, and the freaking rail inspector car, which I probably dropped a kidney somewhere along the way, crossing Limpopo River. I can tell you that pattern right there would be the most applicable for the environment. It is absolutely beautiful country, unlike anything else.
That just brought something to mind. So we're going to get to listener questions, but I want to ask a question because you have been to a lot of different areas, a lot of different countries, Marco, and operated for the different countries. This
operated a scooter.
A scooter. Talk about just like that. It's like being in that region of Mozambique. You're saying that pattern right there that he showed up, that's the most effective pattern. So talk about the different parts of the world, where which pattern is going to be the most effective.
Well, okay, so if you take a picture of a place that I was like outside of the city in the where people live in those round huts, and then they basically cook food on cooking fires outside, and I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes with baobab trees and stuff and things in the environment.
Right.
So you gotta, kind of pay attention to the elements. So first of all, the dirt is red. It's extremely full of minerals and fertile soil, but it's red, unlike European black, for example.
You're talking about in Africa?
In Africa,
okay.
Right, in like West Africa and Mozambique. And then it's got lavish green too mixed into it. So it's not like you got a lawn, so to speak. No, you got like a red dirt sticking out with some scraggly looking grass here and there. And then you got this lavish trees and stuff. And by the way, also when there's a water, there's luscious plantations of a cane, sugar cane and stuff. So all of those, you got to put them all together, and that's what you come up with your prevalent camo pattern. And the same goes how the woodland became so popular is because in the forest, in the trees, and in the brush, you would mostly European or North American area. And then you start talking about just a desert pattern, which I think they didn't really have to come up and pay millions of dollars developing that early desert pattern and then later desert pattern. They didn't have to do it. All they have to do is make a beige uniform, and you would blend in like
sand.
A rock or something.
Make it sand color.
So, as a matter of fact,
just like the dirt, though, you've got different shades of sand too in different parts of the
right. If you going back to Africa Corps, not the German Africa Corps, but to Brits, right, and their SAS people, wearing operating in the North Africa deserted area, their shade of camo was almost pink. They even called it pink, desert pink.
Was it some of the earlier Russian camo didn't have like a pinkish? I mean, they called it gray, but it looked pink.
No, Russians old man. They don't play with pink.
I thought you were man enough to wear pink.
They reject pink in the military vehemently. But no, there was no pink.
Okay.
But the British famous desert pink. So it was really, it's, from far away you would look, it's, it looks beige, but the closer you get, you'll see the pink little pink color in it.
Yeah, pigmentation. Okay, so let's get to listener questions now. I don't think you were taking that question where I wanted you to take it, but that's okay. And today we just found out from CJ earlier, we're giving away a PPS 43 as the grand prize for today. Well, we also have a $50 coupon generously donated by Hank and Fireforce Ventures, where you guys can go to their website and you can use that. The winner can use that on anything there that they'd like to purchase. And then Hank is also generously extending a discount code to you lead heads. What did we decide the code was going to be? Leadhead?
Leadhead. That's
Leadhead. You get 15% off any of your purchases at Fireforce Ventures. And that's good for a few months now. When
I think end of the month here.
End of the month?
Yeah, end of the month. Yep.
You're not going to get very many people use it because there's people behind. I would extend it to at least April. I mean, give it a couple of months. People are behind on listening. So, and this isn't going to drop till the 15th. So that
let's go 15 April then. 15 April.
Sounds great.
I'm gonna push it there.
Sounds great. That'll give them an opportunity.
Just so people can actually use it.
There you go. And then we're going to be okay. And then we're going to be giving away a dump tray from Mission First Tactical. That's going to have the Talking Lead AK Corner logo, and it's going to have the Pioneer Arms Corp logo. I haven't had one made up yet, but there's the patches. I don't know if you can see that patch. I can. It's one of the patches that Pioneer has. It's a pretty cool patch. I think you only get that if you order a gun. They include those patches in there. And then we're also
by those Scooby-Doo patches.
I know the Scooby-Doos are rare. And then also Seal 1 for all your gun cleaning and lube needs. Seal 1 and done. You'll get like a complete gun care package. It'll have the pads. It'll have the Seal 1 CLP Plus. It'll have a brush. All kinds of anything you need to clean your firearms there. So yeah, a lot of stuff to give away, a lot of questions. So let's get to it. Giddy up. He says, Flectarn, why is it so awesome? So that's just a comment. He's just making a comment there. Do you guys agree? Do you like the Flectarn?
I like Flectarn. It's all right. I think it's a little overrated as far as camo patterns. It might be controversial in that opinion because I dabble in a lot more weird stuff, I guess. It's pretty common. It's still the current issue German uniform, obviously. It works in a lot of environments, but there's also a lot of environments where it doesn't work in, and that's so there's a desert variant as well. So I kind of have to take points off for that, but it's a pretty cool pattern. Derives from P. Which is a Second World War pattern.
I guess the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. That's how I'm going to.
Yes, that's a big deal with it's a big thing with camo.
Subjective kind of deal.
Subjective, yeah.
And in what environment would it be ideal to use the Flectarn?
Oh, it's basically designed for like the Black Forest of Germany, right? It's designed for forest. If you try to wear it in any scrubland or whatever, you might have a much harder time because it's just so green. It's just like heavy green, right? Yeah. The way it turns out, and there's like these little orange bits all over Flectarn, which make it really good for like with any dead vegetation, but not too much dead vegetation, if you know what I mean. So again, any like brushland it wouldn't work as well in desert. You're just a sore thumb. You're a bobbing tree basically if you're in the desert. So
Gotcha.
It's very specific for like a very temperate forest.
Next question, Snuggly Spetsnaz 04. I can already tell this is going to be a great episode. Fire. It is. It has been a great episode. John Adams III. Why did Tiger Stripe never catch on in the U.S. military other than in small SOG units? It seems to break up outlines much better than other types of camouflage. Looking forward to this one. Love the history behind camouflage and surplus.
In the jungle, it works. But U.S. since 1975, maybe some occasional excursions into Panama and south of the border, didn't really fought major campaigns in the jungle environment.
Yeah,
maybe
and the reason
that's why.
Yeah, the reason why in Vietnam that Tiger Stripe wasn't just given to everybody, because it was a wholly jungle war, but some guys were given ERDL and most guys were given OD, 107, right? The reason why, again, technology. It did not get, like, the looms and stuff being used for a lot of, like, even uniform production were 1900 vintages, right? They're like 70-year-old vintage machines. It was just a lot more cost effective to outfit guys that were largely as a result of like McNamara's policies during conscripts, right? Ultimately, they're draftees. Like, just give them OD green. So money, tech, that plays a big part in it. But Tiger Stripe still is occasionally used, I know, by like U.S. Special Forces, particularly when they're doing OP4 and stuff. And non like directly operational things, but like training and stuff, it's still used at times. So it hasn't died and it's still got some utility, but it just doesn't work everywhere. And at the time when they could have issued it to everybody, it would have been too cost prohibitive.
Marco, you got any? You said yours is jungle. It was effective.
No, I was just saying, yeah, the probably main reason why it didn't get widely spread is because
very specific.
Again, you have to realize what lies in adopting the camo, one particular pattern or the other. I mean, you're talking about a major military. It's not some like a banana republics, or smaller countries that has maybe 20,000 total troops. We're talking about like a U.S. military, a Russian military, or maybe even German military. I'm not sure how large they are, but to adopt a particular pattern of camo, it's like you have to redress the entire military, like 1.2 million or 2 million troops, and then you have, especially in the U.S., you have different type of forces. So you got your Air Force, Navy, and so on and so on. And now you got the Space Force. They probably need neon green camo to blend in. And,
they wear Jedi robes.
But you know what I'm saying. So now, I mean, the smaller mission-specific units, such as like special forces, like some of the Rangers, some Marine Recon,
Green Berets,
they would have a requirements for different type of patterns that could be issued to them. But again, it's not like officially adopted military pattern. It would be like the permitted or mission specific provided, that kind of stuff.
It'd be like a piece of kit. It's like, I need this camo for this operation because we're going to be specifically in this type of environment, kind of thing.
Right. It would be weird if someone who operates, let's say, on the periphery of Tucson, Arizona, to wear a Tiger Stripe ammo. At the same time, it would be also not, advisable for somebody to wear a desert camo somewhere in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Or in the snow.
Or in Canada.
So, all right. I think we've thoroughly answered that one. Mustang Perry, what is the best way to tell what camo you need for the environment you are in?
For what reason? What are you trying to do?
You gotta ask yourself some questions.
Are you really trying to hunt, or are you trying to, like, is it wartime? That's a big part of it, right? Because there's a reason why, like, no military has ever utilized like mossy oak, right? No shade thrown at Mossy Oak, but like it's specific purpose built for something that's not wartime. And there's a reason why, like, it's a little weird. I mean, people do it, but like to go out and like full cry precision multicam and go hunting for a buck, like it's just, or pheasant or something. I mean, I've done it before, but it is a little weird, right? People look at me when I go out and I'm wearing like multicam, like, and I've got blaze orange on, I'm hunting pheasant, and they're like, huh? You know, it is a little odd, right? Like, it's just, it is the big, yeah.
But
that question leads to another question. Why?
But you're not camoing
right,
for humans, you're camoing for animals that are colorblind for the most part.
But if that question was more of a knowledge type of trying to obtain some knowledge, then what you got to do is basically, I don't know if you have like endless supply of different type of uniforms and stuff and different patterns, or you ask them because you can go in like a Bass Pro Shop or Cabela's and stuff and like choose the between real oak or whatever it's called.
I think his question just deals with what we've already talked about, is like, you know, it depends on where you are and what you're doing as to what camo that you're going to.
The best way to do it is like go to your backyard somewhere or whatever, where you beckon up to your sort of like a prevalent environment in your area, and take a picture. Just take a picture, right? And your phone or whatever, and then dissect that picture and see what prevalent colors they are. Like, is there more green or more dark shaded areas, or
I like that.
Yeah,
that's a good suggestion.
Or you know, that kind of
stuff. So Bailey Muller gives a suggestion here to his question. He says, check out Brent 0331 on YouTube.
Yes. I've worked with him before. Yeah. Okay. He's a friend down in Texas. He does great videos, and all he does through his videos is he puts on a camouflage pattern and he walks in like the springtime in Texas and then the winter in Texas, right? So he does like 2 videos typically, like dead vegetation versus live vegetation. He wears the camo, you judge for yourself, right? Some of them really are cool camos, but they're terrible. Like, you can see him. Some of them he's invisible, and then you know, it's up to you to make your decision from there. But yeah, it's very unbiased. He cams up his face according to the environment. He's legit. Yeah.
So Brent 0331 on YouTube. You guys can go check that out. And Hank has qualified him. So very cool. Glautru, does the East German rain / Stricktarn camo have utility aside from looking cool?
No, I mean, no. I'm sorry. I own like a lot of sets of it. I think it's pretty cool. I showed it on screen earlier, but I think it was literally like the East German thing where they're like, we're basically a Soviet satellite, but we don't want to look like a Soviet satellite, so let's change up our uniforms ever so slightly, and they put little rice flecks on it. Right. And I don't know. And you see like in the other picture I showed where the guys are actually wearing it in combat. They're augmenting it with like foliage and vegetation. And that's what's giving them camouflage, not the Stricktarn mustard. Because the East Germans never fought a war, right? The East Germans never actually had to field it in combat. They would have done fairly well probably, but they didn't.
They did. 1967 in Czechoslovakia when the Warsaw Pact rolled in.
Okay, I wasn't aware they're in Czech, but
everybody did. Poles, and Hungarians, everybody worked there. I don't know if there was any kind of intense fighting or anything, but
I wasn't. They didn't fight like they didn't fight like a conventional war, and they didn't fight like even like a counterinsurgency war in the way that the South Africans, Rhodesians, or Portuguese did. So. Yeah, it never got truly fielded, and as a result, like, I mean, the East German webbing is pretty awful. Like, the whole webbing system doesn't make sense. The Soviets had much better stuff, in my unprofessional opinion.
All rubberized.
Yeah, it's all rubberized and weird, and everything connects to everything else. So if one thing comes off, the whole thing falls apart. And just, it looks cool though. It looks cool. You can't deny that, but. It's not very functional.
All right. I think we answered that. Next question, Flood Munitions. How crucial is it to utilize face paint camo to break up the pattern?
Again?
So for flesh, basically saying how important is it to camouflage your flesh also, you know, with paints?
You know, you see all these movies, the Hollywood movies, where they take all this camo and completely cover your face. The biggest thing is your flesh color does exist in nature. I mean, if you can break it up, like for example, Soviet Marines love to do just a black diagonal striping on their face, which would work perfectly fine, because if you look at it, you would expect to see some features like nose, ears, eyes, or whatever. And when it's broken up and with some different pattern, you don't accept it as what you were anticipating.
Easily recognizable.
Right. All that green nonsense that they show on the TV.
But his question is, how crucial is it? I mean,
non-crucial. None
so
of
you
it
don't
is
have
crucial.
to. You don't have to camouflage your face.
You don't have to camo your face. It naturally, that kind of color naturally exists. And then
But
again, what do you need to camouflage this for? When you walk in a patrol or something, and so you're less distinguished as a white guy? Or I mean, what? I mean, if you sitting somewhere, if you're tracking someone, if you're sitting somewhere in a concealed area, right? Your veil, the face veil will do it. A little mesh. You're in Afghanistan. We often soak the regular cheesecloth in like a gypsum, like you get, you know, when you use to put the bandages on or whatever, the casts on for soldiers, right? So you kind of use the gypsum so it becomes like white and kind of thick with the little gypsum on it. So you put it over yourself, over your head, and you pretty much indistinguishable between the sandy or kind of light colored, the mountain rocky kind of environment. So
it's not crucial.
It's not crucial at all.
Not crucial. Okay, but it is smart to break up the pattern. I would think.
On Marco's note, I've got just two quick pictures here. Completely supporting his point. So this is a picture of Koos Stadler, an SAD, South African guy, recce operator. You see his face is actually darkened with basically like shoe polish, and sometimes they use coffee grinds and burnt tire, which is kind of gross. But it's because
just like he's dirty.
He just looks like he's dirty. And the reason why was to give him the appearance that he was actually like a black African, because he often, you know, their missions, as the Rhodesian Special Forces missions, often saw them like walking into enemy bases and stuff. And obviously, if you're a white guy, you stick out like a sore thumb. So occasionally there was a need, but more common,
stick out like J-Lo's butt.
This is the reality of what you really need for camo. This is Otto Ock in the same unit at the same time frame, rocking an AK actually. That's his idea of camo.
Is that his like gay pride camo?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
so he's just doing a river
crossing. At least they were
crossing.
camouflage speedos. So
yeah. So you can see, like, if he was to wear face paint and do this river crossing, he'd be like there'd be no point because it'd wash off, right? So
well, they make
obviously
waterproof.
He's got his ammo, he's got his rifle, he's not there to hide, and that's the point of that. So like it's all situationally dependent as far as face paint goes.
Also, you know, and we didn't really talk about thermal camo or, you know, anything like that, but, you know, putting mud on your body to lower your body temperature, you know, kind of helps defeat.
It's a Hollywood.
Is that a myth?
That's kind of Hollywood. Yeah, that's Hollywood myth.
As soon as your body releases the heat to warm up that mud, right?
Well, it's not going to last.
The mud will be just as distinct, you know, glowing.
The same thing what they say about add, you know, extra blankets over you too. Eventually, those are going to heat up, you know. Too.
Right. What you do is you got to have. Now they're using this. There's a good video actually that was filmed with night vision where this Russian soldier came up within 10 feet of a Ukrainian sentry and just jumped on him with the knife and stabbed him and stuff. But he used one of this new developed covers. Basically, what you need to do is to combat the thermal is very simple. Because you got to have some kind of fabric, right? The camo fabric that is away from your body. Like picture umbrella. Okay, but the umbrella is no good because it's got the metal carcass and stuff that transmits the heat. But picture umbrella, right? And then you would bring that umbrella in front of you because so there's an air and the body is not heating up the fabric and umbrella. So your thermal, if it's positioned right in front, will not pick up your body heat. So if you make something that is, let's say, I mean, the technology exists already. It's being used right now as we speak.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's based on basically not contacting with the body to absorb the body heat.
Gotcha.
So
all right. Next question is
show dirty guys. I'll just show more South African dirty guys. That's what the picture was.
Yeah, we get that.
Get the
Ryan Reisner, along the same as Flood's question there, his is a reference to your firearm and your kit. What's the importance of not having or having your firearm or kit camouflaged or painted to the environment you're trying to blend into?
What's the advantages or disadvantages?
Well, they're just again, just like the face painting. Is it crucial? You know, is it something that you should consider camouflaging your firearm or your kit?
Again, it depends. Okay, two things. First, it depends how close you want to get to the whatever your objective, right? Whether it's going to be an assault on a stronghold or it's ambush and stuff. And usually those things they happen hundreds of meters away from the once you start firing, obviously all your camo and concealment is gone. So if it is close thing where you have to take out the sentry and stuff and with some you better use either I can't believe I'm saying this. You better use a knife or suppressed or silenced type of weapon, which you would not, make noise and stuff. And at this point, maybe there's a advantage, but then again, I mean, who stands a guard or sentry post surrounded by bushes? Let's say you most likely will be in some kind of semi-fortified area in the open so you can see all around you and stuff what you actually guarding against. But then
I think they're talking more along the lines of if you're out in the field and you're not standing, you're not a sitting target kind of deal, more like a sniper, a sniper in a sniper hide, kind of deal. You see them with their scopes and optics, and everything. They try to conceal those and cover those.
My thought is like, it just goes back to something I said earlier. There's no straight lines in nature, and anytime you have an opportunity to break up some sort of a straight line
or circle,
there's no perfect circles and there's no straight lines. Yeah, if you can just do something, whether that's just as Marco said, just being in the right place, the right spot, actually being concealed,
right.
Or if that involves you painting something or throwing some sort of a netting or a mesh or ghillie or some sort of material over your weapon
Next
system
question.
or your gear.
Yeah, I think we answered that thoroughly. Bonafide breed. Which present or historical military camouflage pattern was the best looking and or functionally effective? I think you could go two different ways. So I would say, what's the most effective in your opinions?
White snow.
White.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good one. But I gave props to Rhodesian brushstroke. It still works in
pushing
so many environments. It works in so many environments that I really like. It doesn't work everywhere, but
on the lines of best looking, it's like I'm just going to wear this out in public.
Yeah. I wear this in public. I'm
just saying, what would your favorite be to just wear out in public?
but I would wear Rhodesian brushstroke. I mean, I do, so I'm biased
What
though.
you,
But
Marco?
like, yeah,
What's your
In
favorite?
public,
camo?
in
Just to
public,
wear, yeah. Just to rock every day.
jeans and a pleated shirt with baseball
And
cap.
plaid shirt.
Basically
Urban
saying,
camo.
"Don't shoot me first."
Yeah.
Yeah. My Predators jersey.
There you go.
I like multicam. You know, I've got hats.
multicam is yeah.
Cryptic. I like cryptic. I've got hats and shirts that just wear that have cryptic shit on it. Gerald Link, what is the best source to look up camo patterns? What is the one thing that was always missing? How much was the average replacement cost for the uniform per soldier? And that's going to be different times in history. So just the first two there. The best source, I mean, that camo website.
Camopedia. Yeah, Camopedia is the best. There's also, they have a forum. It's called the International Army Camouflage Military Collectors or whatever. You'll find it on Camopedia, but they actually have a forum there where a lot of people post their collections and stuff. And there's some very, very, it's just an incredible source, wellspring of knowledge as far as camos go. So you really can't beat Camopedia.
Okay.
What was that second question? It's kind of a weird.
I was gonna say, Marco, did you have a thing on the source for camo patterns?
There
There's
was
probably
like a Camopedia is a good source. There was one time there was and I forgot that name, website, but years ago, somebody did a book on Soviet patterns.
Okay.
And I forgot where
Probably
it is.
on
But
Amazon.
anyway, if you are just be a sleuth and do the research on the interwebs, you'll find all kinds of information.
Yeah.
Now,
I think
as far as
camopattern.com or whatever wiki would be a good place to start. And then once you find that pattern, then like Marco's saying, then be a sleuth and find out more about that specific pattern.
I should quickly mention Richard Johnson's Tiger Stripe patterns. Like, that's the definitive book on any Tiger Stripe pattern. Just crazy amount of detail on there. Richard Dennis Johnson. You can find it on Amazon.
Okay.
So yeah, if you ever, because there's so many variants of Tiger Stripe, he's the best possible source, at least for Tiger Stripe.
Okay. And then his second part was, what is the one thing that was always missing? I guess maybe, all the camo patterns what are they overlooking? What are they missing? Not really. Nothing.
They all have their own uses, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
they cover so much.
Use and area and environment specific. But I mean, that's the thing, is anything is, when camo started, it's improved. There's always something that they see that they could have done or should have done better, and then they do. And that's where we get the camo that we have today. The other question was, how much was the average replacement cost for a uniform per soldier? I don't know.
That's classified information, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I think it was like, when I was in the military, it was like, I think the fine was like $300 to $400. I don't know. That's like if you straight up lost something, so it wasn't stolen. It's in it's like a few $100, I guess. I don't know what it is in the US. I know in Canada it's like a few $100.
Russia, it's a bullet to the head.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's like some kind of duty.
Yeah,
you
you just get in
you
trouble.
shoot the new one. That's all.
Yeah, you get.
So here's the book.
Camouflage Uniforms of the Soviet Union by
Dennis Desmond.
Dennis Desmond.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's you another resource there, Leadheads.
I'm pretty sure you'll find it on Amazon. But it's pretty comprehensive. Now you gotta realize that this book was published probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with the Dennis Johnson book.
If you want just a great book on the history of the AK-47, the ultimate reference is Marco's book, which is the AK-47 Survival and Evolution of the World's Most Prolific Gun. We know you can get that on Amazon. If it's not sold out, they sell out of it quite
They
frequently.
do then the 6th printing. But
And
my royalty checks don't reflect that.
Marco is still not getting paid for that. So when you buy that book, put a complaint in the comments that Marco should get his cut when you go and review and rate it. What are you holding up? A nade? You got a nade? Is that
Every
where
time
all
I think about my book?
It's like, this is the complaint department. Take a ticket.
Yep.
You got the pit. That's funny. All right. Next question. Tongue for twisting. With so many camo making companies, what twist makes yours stand out alone from the others?
I suppose that's addressed to me.
I mean, you're not making your own camo. You're just.
Well, I'm producing. I'm resurrecting camos, I guess. I'm reproducing camos.
Yeah.
That's the catch, I guess. I'm reproducing dead camos that haven't been in print in like 50 years. So I think that's kind of cool. I hope that's kind of cool.
Yeah, bringing them back to life.
Yeah, I'm bringing them back to life and bringing things that otherwise would be completely forgotten about, but still have a lot of utility, like this Rhodesian brushstroke. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's something we're specifically concentrating on, military camo this episode. But I mean, there are so many camo companies out there, but they're more for style, urban type.
Yeah.
Just every day. They have no purpose other than looking fashionable, I guess, trying to be fashionable. Bonafide breed. Are companies like Realtree and Mossy Oak up to par with military standards when it comes to camouflage? Why or why not? I would say for the most part, no, because their specific use, and their specific use is for hunting. And there's different game that you use their different patterns for. So duck hunting versus deer hunting versus, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges, really.
B. Hurst, isn't it base color, then debris for your surroundings? I guess he's talking about when you're making a camo, is the base color the main, and then the debris from your surroundings the second part of it.
I mean, if I may.
Yes, please.
All these questions about the surroundings, what's the best camo, and if you would have like some kind of mesh, right? Like let's say gill net.
Yeah.
Right. That is kind of like just a small section, like an inch pattern gill net, fishing net, or like an old potato sacks that see through, and you can make something that you can put over your head or your shoulders. Just have some strings tied to it and go to the area of your operation where you're going to operate and just tie things to it, like pieces of grass, or tie twigs to it, some small little branches with leaves on them, tie it to it. And this is your best concealment that you would ever gonna have. So you don't need to wear some kind of patterned uniform, but if you're just concealing yourself, you can make that type of like a cape, let's say, right, to put over yourself.
A cloak,
like, right, right, of invisibility, because you're gonna use the grass, the little flowers, the twigs, the branches from the environment where you're operating. You're gonna naturally blend in.
Yeah.
Your environment is ultimately your best camouflage.
I get that. I mean, I think what he's asking is that these camo companies is that their formula is that you take your desert, for the main base color, and then they go in and then they start building the pattern around the other stuff there. Maybe that's
I think these camo companies, right?
Yeah.
Are there to sell you stuff.
Well, a lot of them,
Yes.
That's their main purpose.
We are.
And when they make the Realtree or Mossy Oak pattern camo, is because it looks like
they want to sell you a car seat. car seat
Yeah.
cover.
It looks like the woods that you go in your November once the gun season is opened up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all it is. I mean, it's not there for you to sneak up on the sentry or go past the patrol or something like that. You know what I'm saying? All these camo companies are selling you a candy, a wrapper. By the way, do you know who invented candy wrappers?
Willy Wonka.
Good entry, but no.
Okay.
Hank, come on. I know you're good historian.
I don't know enough about candy production.
French? Did the French?
I don't know.
Edison.
Thomas Edison?
Oh,
Thomas
okay.
Edison. He loved the
There's you.
chocolate, but he worked a lot, and he would put the chocolate in his pockets, and obviously it would melt and it'll make a mess. So he starts, because he used to make a lot of transformers, right? They use the wax paper.
Uh-huh.
So he started wrapping those chocolate pieces into wax paper and putting them in his pocket and
There you go.
preserving them that way.
More useless information from.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. That was interesting. I did not know that.
Me neither.
Lights out, Okie Coyotes. I know camo is merely to break up outline. However, with certain camo patterns chose just because they look cool, we already had that question, or to be different. How do they make certain military clothing semi-invisible to thermal imaging? That's a secret, I guess.
No, I was just
But it's
saying that all the
reflective,
new
it's to
technology,
reflect.
like there's no uniforms that is partially invisible to thermal. The uniform is on your body, and your body will give out heat, and it will warm up the uniform, and so obviously by proxy, so to speak, it will shine. But the new technologies now exist where not necessarily uniform, but something that is you carry with you is in a roll, and you can unroll it and then cover yourself with, sort of like a cloak or a cape or something, that is using a technology where the actual outside layer is separated from your body, does not conduct or absorb the body heat, and but
Okay.
at the same time, so people think the thermal might be the thing, at the same time, you also still visible through a regular night vision scopes or implements. So it's not gonna, the thermal anti-thermal thing is not gonna make you invisible to thing, but it will make you invisible to a thermal devices like scopes and whatnot, and Nox. And I'm done talking.
Is Lefty frozen?
I think
he froze.
frozen.
I think he froze. I hope he's still recording this. I think he's frozen. Uh-oh. I hope we didn't lose him. Oh no, we lost him. We lost him. We're still recording though, so we'll keep going, I guess. One sec. I'll see if I can just pull up the questions here, and I'll just. Oh, here's a good one. What are some other means being camouflaged other than attire? Could you delve into common tactics used to stay hidden? Whether that would be you move through urban, woods, plains, or whatever environment, what have you, or other pieces of equipment that you would need to stay hidden, like thermals, how to evade them, or the best routes when navigating terrain. Thanks. Looking forward to the podcast. That's from Pillow Pants. So you can take it away there, Marco. I'm sure you know a lot about
that. Thank you for vote of confidence, Hank. But all right, so again, everything you do is like a stick of two ends, right? So if you're watching somebody, that somebody is watching you, right? So you have to be acutely aware of the environment you operate. Like, for example, I mean, probably the worst environment would be like the counterinsurgency operations in like mountainous area, like let's say Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
Because the hills have eyes, and they're usually above you so they can see further, and through the basic means of communications like walkie-talkies and stuff. As soon as you leave the wire, they already know that you're traveling on this road and in a particular direction. So that's one thing. In like European theater, you got the brush, you got the green zones, we call them, where early in the podcast I was talking about the concept of a screen, right? You build a screen. So let's say you move in to your objective, but there's enemy activity beyond the trees. Obviously, you want to be not so much deep in the trees where you don't know what the enemy is doing, you cannot observe them. But you also want to have a thick enough screen where your movement will be concealed. And in that case, the actually camo patterns, or like let's say a green type of clothing, like OD green or something, or a camouflage uniforms would play a good role, an essential role. But basically, you gotta create enough a screen between you and the enemy that potentially can see you, and your movement have to be a deliberate one. In some cases, you move really slow so you don't attract that human eye reaction to a movement. Or in some cases, you actually gotta be as fast as possible. Let's say crossing the forest road, like a logging road or something. You have to be really fast. You can't walk slowly, like marching band steps or whatever across it. You have to be as fast as possible, relying on your luck pretty much, whether or not you get spotted. But just if you can be acutely aware of your environment, where you are, and create some kind of screen between you and the hostile force, and use it like give you an example. The cartoons where one, like let's say Tom chases Jerry, right, around something. Another good example is a squirrel. If you ever woke up on a squirrel and the squirrel run up the tree, it doesn't run up far. It just goes on the other side. And as you move, it moves opposite of you. You know what I mean? So it's using its environment to conceal itself from you. So kind of the same way. So, but it's hard to tell what you got to do because there's so many environments: deserts, wooded area, prairie, steeps, steppes, or whatever you call them, and But what you want to do is you want to have a barrier of some sort between you and your enemy, but it doesn't need to be a wall, because you have to observe back and move and react to the enemy movements as well. I don't know if it answers the question, but
I think that answers it great, like having the screen. So yeah. I just got a text from Lefty. He says he's rebooting the net right now. He lost internet, so let's see.
Hopefully he joins us again. But
yes.
What's the next one? We'll just keep going, I guess.
Yeah, we can just keep going on questions because it says we're still recording, so we're still recording here, hopefully. Here's a really good one. Okay. I have some thoughts on this, and I know you'll have some thoughts on this too. From Slug Nutty. With low light, no light, thermal, multi-frequency radar now used in human detection, is camouflage just window dressing for humans to look cool to each other? Very well-worded question, too.
Very good.
Very good question, yeah.
Down-to-earth kind of question.
From Slug Nutty. Again, is camouflage just
the window
dressing for humans to look cool?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, you look now, you can find all these videos and stuff of that dumbassery in Ukraine, and you'll see on both sides of people, not really wearing any particular, well, a lot of multicam, but also just a green or OD green or beige type of stuff, so they don't, or brown, so they don't really care anymore, because use of thermal and the night vision and modern detection equipment is just very, very widely spread. So camo is becoming like, you know,
Yeah,
just look at my new
definitely.
jacket.
Yeah, and in a conventional setting, like the drone, the drone is going to see you regardless of what you're wearing, generally speaking.
Yeah.
It's just the way modern warfare is. Okay, so here's another one from Bailey Mueller 80. Oh, I don't know if I can add him. It's saying to add him to the, let's see, settings.
Marco.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
But where's Hank?
There's Hank down there. I got to add him back.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm back.
There we go.
Okay.
Jesus.
Holy crap. Okay. I hope
Internet.
Why did you do it? It was scary. It was scary. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You're all on your own. Oh my gosh.
So the question we were at that you missed, where were we?
The window dressing.
Window dressing with low light, no light, thermal, multi-frequency radar now used in human detection. Is camouflage just window dressing for humans to look cool for each other? And Marco basically said yes. I agreed with him. It really, like, just the amount of like drone footage I've seen out of even Gaza right now with the Israelis, and they have all kinds of stuff to break up their silhouette, even though they're still wearing ODs. Like, just drones will see you a lot. Like, just the overhead view is something to really, really consider now. And of course, like thermals, radar, low light, no light stuff. Like, yeah, camouflage still works in certain settings. Operationally, when you're fighting guys that do not have nods, that are very primitive. It certainly worked back in the day, but that's the utility of it is less and less important. So that's what we kind of were talking about from Slug Nutty. That question.
Slug Nutty. Okay, did you do all the ones before that?
We did.
It depends on what yours is. Sorted.
Yeah, it's in a different order. So I'll read you the last. We did the one from.
Let me just do this. I'll go down mine and you tell me if you did it or not.
Yeah.
So I think we left on the which present or historical military camouflage pattern was the best looking and or functionally effective. I think we did that.
Oh, okay. The only other one we did was from Pillow Pants. What are some other means being camouflage other than attire? That one. So we did that one as well.
Okay, so Old Tennessean M81 beats all other camos in green environments. I'm also a fan of the M95 Czech and the Greek Lizard. In today's warfare, are camo patterns still important, or is it just more of an identity?
And we answered that.
Okay, you did that one. Bonafide breed, our companies like, we did that one. Bailey Miller.
Let me just add to that one is, in today's battlefield, the camo is.
Sure.
Yes, it's still important because not everyone will have the thermal or night vision. Not everyone will be able to maintain the batteries and stuff. I mean, if you look at some of the footage in Ukraine, right, where you got pretty much like a rat holes in there, and then you're being assaulted all the time with artillery and everything. Not every one of those troopers, soldiers on either side, will have the thermals. So the camo is very important, especially if you are in a stronghold position somewhere surrounded by trees or whatever. You want to conceal yourself.
Sure.
And like I said, though that technology is in the battlefield, it's not widely spread. I mean, good example I'll give you is that remember 2001, our troops went into Afghanistan, and every one of them had a freaking night vision goggles. Everyone. But that advanced group of troops, you go at them, you look at the news 3 months later, nobody's got them. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of falls into the same realm. You know, how prevalent is like everybody's got a $5,000 thermal at their disposal. Only one person or gets killed. Just the thing is destroyed. You still got to complete the mission. That kind of stuff. So yeah, camos are still important.
Okay. Bailey Muller 80, and you may have read this one too. Let's hear everyone's favorite com block post-Soviet camo patterns. Did you guys do that one?
No, we haven't done that.
Okay, my personal favorite is the KLMK or Silverleaf pattern, being in the PNW, but honorable mentions to TTSKO Dubak and the Kazakh chocolate chip patterns.
All I heard was KLMK, and the rest and Dubok, and everything else was just beyond.
What is your favorite com block post-Soviet camo pattern?
No, com block is oxymoron. It's contradiction and.
I think he's asking both. What's your favorite
com block and then
com block and then yeah.
The com block I'm sitting in.
You like that one?
Well, absolutely. And again, summer, spring, the winter is white, obviously, and but it's not for everyday use. It's only when you go out, you know, you lift the wire, so to speak. And the post-Soviet is their new digital camo, and now most of the guys in the front line using the multicam.
Okay.
I like SS Latau. I wonder if I can pull this up. Share screen. I don't know. There we go. That's the one I like. This is if it's like post-Soviet era. This is a good one.
Chuck Liddell? Is that what I heard?
Well, Chuck Liddell's pretty cool. But anyways, this is it.
Okay.
It's called Partizan or SS Latau. There's variants of it, but basically that's it. That's my pick.
All right. I like the one I'm wearing.
Yeah, it's nice.
Let's see. Lights out, Okie Coyotes. I know camos merely. Oh, okay, we read that one already. Gerald Link, what is the best source to look up? We read that. Mine got rearranged somehow.
Yeah.
Time for Twisted. Why so many camo making companies? What twist? Okay, we did that one. B. Hurst, hard fighting, hiding from new technologies. Okay. B. Hurst, 87. Hard fight, hiding from new technologies, but the grass man with twigs in the woodlands or trash man urban style with a beer can. I think he's just making a statement there. I hope it's one of the AK 22 AKs for ammo's sake. I showed it to my boys and they both want one. I think he's talking about for a giveaway for next episode. And we're going to talk about that coming up here. Sinister Fist, interested in your thoughts about what countries utilize the best overall do everything pattern, past, present, or future. It's not really a do all everything pattern. Well, maybe pattern, but then even the patterns, I mean, depends on where you're at, whether it's going to be effective or not. I guess a better way to phrase that is if you could only have one camo pattern to carry with you everywhere, which would it be?
Multicam.
I'm biased, but Rhodesian breaststroke.
Okay. I would go with the multicam. Slug Nutty, and you read his with low light, no light, thermal. You read that one already?
Yep, we read that one.
Yep.
Okay. That was a very good question.
Yeah, I thought
that was a very, very good question.
So what's the nickname?
Slug Nutty.
Slug Nutty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Corey Brown, MK, TMF4N. So what's better, micro camo or macro camo? According to Garand Thumb, fitness is key. How much distance can you put between the enemy and you? After watching the devastating effects of drones in Ukraine, I've come to the conclusion that 90% of the population is fucked. Okay. So let's just go with the first part of that. Which is better, micro or macro camo?
I think there's a tendency towards micros right now because of CADPAT and MARPAT, right? So everything has gone to kind of smaller shapes. But I don't know. Like, I feel like there's still a great utility in certain environments for a bigger pattern. Like Rhodesian brush, obviously, like this is a huge shape, right? Compared to the little blobs of multicam. So it really depends, like, again, what you're doing. I can't really like argue.
Can't say one's better than the other, right?
I can't say one is better than the other, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Marco, same opinion?
I have no opinion on that.
Okay.
I don't delve into the camo on that level to distinguish between the micro and macro. I'm just,
okay,
whatever works. I
and you guys said you did pillow pants. What are some other means being camouflaged other than attire? You say you did that one?
Yep.
Could you delve into common tactics used to stay hidden? You did all the pillow pants?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that should have got us through everybody. I mean, if I missed one, I apologize. I think we probably pretty much covered everything anyway. But if we didn't get to your question and you still want it answered, just email me, tinylet@gmail.com. We'll make sure we get you an answer. Great questions, guys. This go around. Great participation. Really appreciate that. Let's pick winners real quick, and then we're going to talk about what's coming up in next month's AK Corner. So let's start off with the Seal 1. Seal 1 and done. Complete gun cleaning kit. Go to seal1.com. Use the code LEADHEAD. You get 25% off any of the products at Seal 1. And do you want to do like random number pick, or is there a question that stands out that you like to give this to? And remember, we got all these other giveaways to do too. We got trays. We got $50 from Fireforce Ventures, and then the big grand prize.
I already know, since I'm charged with that one.
You picked that one.
Who's going to get the grand prize?
Okay.
Don't
say who it is. Don't say who it is.
I'm sorry.
No, so we're doing the Seal 1. Who gets Seal 1?
Seal 1.
Yeah. Who gets the Seal 1?
The guy that asked about how can you use the tactics of using like a concealment or camo while moving or something fitty pants or something. Is that the one?
Pillow pants?
Pillow pants, yeah.
Okay. Pillow pants. You are the winner of the Seal 1. Congratulations. And everyone who's picked today as a winner, you email me, you tell me what you won, and obviously we're going to need your address. So there you go. Let's do the $50 from Fireforce, and I'll let you pick, Hank, who you think is deserving of the $50 coupon to spend at their leisure at your website.
Okay. Let's see.
And if it's who Marco wants for the PPS, we'll edit it out.
Okay. All right. Let's go with the importance of having your firearms camouflage to blend into, like, try to blend into the environment. Like,
okay.
Ryan Reisner.
Yep.
Who asked about the firearms.
Yeah.
The Rhodesians were very well known for baby pooping their FNFALs. baby pooping just light green blobs all over it. So they did that with AKs too when they used captured AKs for pseudo operations. So the Rhodesians were very well known for camming up both uniforms, web gear, and your rifle weapon system. So
Okay.
I even just a quick shout out to a friend of mine, Dave Hughes. I know his Eland, which is like a Ferret, like a small scout car. They had on the back of their scout car like a set of weights, right? So they could quickly, get some gym reps in. Those were even cammed up. Those were baby poops. So,
nice.
yeah, that question made me think of all those things. So, yeah.
Okay, Ryan Rice here. You are the winner. Email me all your info, and I will forward it on to Hank. And what you gave me all the info already, right? Is it like a code or something that they're going to use?
It's just a code. Yep, it's just a code.
All right. So Ryan, email me, and I will forward you that code that you can use for the $50. And then of course, all you lead heads can use the code LEADHEAD up until April 15th. Is that what we said? And you get 15% off.
Yes.
Everything at Fireforce Ventures there.
Yep. FireforceVentures.com.
Next giveaway is for the Mission First Tactical dump tray, or I use it as my armorer's tray when I'm cleaning my guns and whatnot. I put all my little parts and whatnot in there. Works great. I
use it every day. I use it every day.
Yeah, I do too. I just built my first 80% pistol this last week, and it came in very handy for those small parts with the pistol parts, putting that together. I'm picking Snuggly Spetsnaz 04 because he said, I can already tell this is going to be a great episode, and it just got even better for you, Snuggly, because you get a dump tray. Dump tray in the house. All right, is that all our regular prizes? Now we're going to go to the big grand prize. Is this? And again, CJ told you guys this is a special limited edition. It's a PPS 43 that is a commemorative for the Battle of Leningrad. And
that was, we just celebrated the break through the siege of Leningrad, 80 years, 80-year anniversary. Happened in January of 1944, after 900 days of complete seizure. So you guys know how close it is to me. Personally, is my own grandfather died on the Nevsky Petachok. It's like a beachhead, 1 kilometer wide and 3 kilometers long. 300,000 people is dead there, and one of them is my grandfather on my mother's side, and so that is kind of dear and near to me.
Yeah, and fitting that you would award this to the lucky leadhead that participated in this month's questions. Marco, who's the lucky participant?
What is it? Sluggy nutty?
Slug nutty?
Slug nutty.
Slug nutty. You are the winner of this most prestigious PPS 43. Now you have to be legally able to own a firearm, Slug nutty. If you are not legally able to own a firearm, you do not get this, and you will get a runner-up plaque. You'll get a dump tray. But email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. Obviously, we're going to need your FFL info. I'm going to need driver's license, all that to verify. And we're going to forward all that on to CJ, who he will verify, and he'll get with your FFL and send this. And it comes with a certificate also. I believe. Isn't that what he said? He has a certificate.
Yeah.
Got a
they
special
only made
rating.
a few of those. Yes.
Yeah. Did you say what? Is it the original caliber, or is this the 9mm?
I am pretty sure it's in the 9mm, but it better clarify with CJ.
Okay.
Because,
not sure on that, but
because being the Leningrad, kind of commemorative, maybe he tried to do it in the original caliber.
Yeah, could have been. I don't know why he didn't do this for our next episode, because our next episode is going to be on the PPS 43, but whatever. CJ works in mysterious ways. So there you go. And speaking of next month's episode is our third episode, and is the one where we were supposed to give away our first firearm, but we jumped the gun and we did it this episode. We're going to be giving away another firearm next episode, and it is going to be a custom Pioneer Arms Corp 5.56 AK. Very similar to the one that you see here. It won't be just like this one. He's going to do some kind of custom something or another to it. I don't know if it'll be an underfolder, if it'll have a stock on it. But I do believe it will have a talking lead AK Corner logo with the hand on it. And there's no telling what else he'll have on there. But here's what you have to do to be eligible for that, lead heads. And this is a extreme participation. So between now and the deadline is March 11th. We're going to give you till March 11th. And I know a lot of our listeners aren't on social media. So I'm trying to make this able for everyone to participate in this. So you're going to email me, and in the subject, you're going to put March. This is February. Yeah, it's going to be March AK Corner contest. That needs to go in the subject. March, and you can put AKK for AK Corner. March AKK contest. So in our first episode, we talked about the history of Pioneer Arms Corp, how they got started, the factory that they're in, the Circle 11 factory, all that. And then Michael was on that show, and he gave us some of his family history. His great-grandfather, this is what you're going to have to answer. Name the unit that Michael's great-grandfather was commander of. What was the name of that unit? And he carried something with him other than a firearm. So we want to know what that was that he carried with him also. So that's part one. Part two is I want to hear from you on a topic or a guest that you want us to cover on an upcoming episode of the AK Corner. So that has to be in there also. And then if you do have a social media account, you have to be following us, Talking Lead, Pioneer Arms Corp USA, Mission First Tactical, SEAL 1. You have to be following. And I know we have ways of checking this to find out whether you're following or not. So 3 parts. And then that last part, if you don't have an account, make up a fake account, for God's sake. I mean, come on. There's ways around this that you can do it. Or borrow one of your friends or your wife or your girlfriend's account and use their account to follow us. The whole point is to build our following on social media so we can get past these algorithms that they have. So start liking, start sharing when I make posts, when Pioneer Arms makes posts, Mission First, SEAL 1, share those to your pages. Tag us. You have to tag us. So that helps. So email me between now and March 11th the name of the unit that Michael's great-grandfather was the commander of and the weapon that he had other than a firearm that he carried with him. If you put his name in there, you get bonus points. If you can tell me his name, his grandfather's name. And then give me a suggestion on a topic or a guest that you would like us to have on an upcoming episode of the Talking Lead AK Corner. And the email is talkingled@gmail.com. talkinglead@gmail.com. So this is something everyone can participate in. Again, if you don't have the social medias, I'm not going to hold that against you, but if you do, I want to make sure that you're following us and doing all that. So is that a pretty good way to start our first official gun giveaway, Marco?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. The next one for the 6th episode, because every 3rd episode we're going to give away a gun, is going to be even more participation. You're going to have to do something different. And I've already got in mind what I want to do for that, but I'm not going to let you know yet. So next month's episode, I'm planning on going to Florida. Marco, are you going to come to Florida?
As much as I want to.
As much as you want to?
I might be going to Vietnam.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool. I mean, is it like for a cool thing, or
Well,
why are you going to Vietnam?
I try to do cool things and stay away from boring things.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. So it's a cool thing. So nothing you can talk about?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
You'll tell me off air. Marco, so give us an update on the ammo and the silencers, the suppressors, and all that you've been trying to get going.
Okay, so disavowed silencers. We just got our new generation ones, which actually have threaded back plate and the front cap, so they can be adapted for any muzzle device and thread over just about all the popular 3-prong or whatever muzzle devices, and could be used with the swappable back cap. You can use it for on the multiple guns.
Okay. Multiple calibers.
Well, not multiple calibers per se, but multiple guns. And we still have our 7.62. We got our new line of suppressors that could be used on 7.62 rifles, like ARs per se. And by replacing the back end of it, you can actually thread on 24mm thread to your modern pattern AK, the 100 series AKs.
Okay, nice.
So,
is there a website? Have we got a website yet?
Yes, disavowed.
Spell it.
Disavowed, like somebody that went rogue. Disavowed agent.
Okay, Google it. Google it then. Disavowed.com. That's it. Disavowed.com.
Let's see.
Let me see if I can pull it up. DISSAVOW. Is it Dow or Dowd? Disavowed. Disavowed.com. Let's see if anything. Nothing came up. DOW.
I mean, if you just
here it is.
You got it.
I think so. My internet don't crap on it. I need to hurry up. Nope. There's not a disavowed.com. Does not exist.
Okay, I'll let me go grab one of those. I'll be right back.
All right. And while you're doing that, we'll let Hank talk about Fireforce. And if you want to talk about the Canadian company, you can do that too.
Sure. So the Canadian company is just me, and basically I design stuff for Fireforce, the cuts of the uniforms. So if you want anything developed custom, look up Canada Camo, camis.ca. However, if you're just looking to buy some of the camouflage that I've talked about, and a lot of them are still like in the works right now. I'm always, developing new stuff. But if you want to get yourself some Rhodesian brushstroke, some West German Sumpftarn, which we have, some Belgian brushstroke, all at www.fireforceventures.com. Some excellent webbing from Nixie Works out of Colorado. Even some like African art that I import right out of Zimbabwe. I got to go through a lot of trouble to get that to the United States. So
can you get spears in them?
I'm working on that. I'm working on assegais, the African assegais.
I would love to have
that's a very traditional weapon. There's also the knob curies. I'm working on trying to get all that African stuff into the United States. It's a hell of a process. So, and a lot of it actually supports the local families and the artisans there in Zimbabwe and the Limpopo region of South Africa.
Yeah.
So, so all that's available. Nixie Works. Moving more into some Vietnam stuff this year. Stay tuned for that. I can't really say what just quite yet, but if you want to know more about all of the stuff I'm doing behind the scenes, you can definitely check out our Buyers Club. If you look at our website, just on the far right-hand side, that far right-hand tab, it'll give you guidance on how you can join our Buyers Club. for only, I think it's $20. Yeah, $20. You get to join our private community where we talk all things camo, all things firearms and military history on Gilded. So check it out. Just obviously got to be 18 plus, and
Sure.
cool. It's a very positive community. Do like movie nights and stuff there. So yeah, if you're into military history and some of the stuff we sell, the stickers, patches, the uniforms, reflecting all kinds of military history units, definitely check it out. www.fireforceventures.com.
Very cool.
Yeah, all that art's mine, by the way. I draw that stuff. So
this
patches, it's all stuff that I've done up. Yeah, for either reproducing things that are out of print or original stuff.
Gotcha. That's cool. All right, there you go. So Marco's back. I heard Marco.
So it's disavowed. Let's see. Right, wrong.
I spelt it right. So tell me. I'll put in disavow suppressor. Let's see if that gives me anything.
Oh, silencer.
Same thing. Should come up. Silencer.
Yeah, disavowed group.
Group.
Disavowedgroup.com. Sorry about that one. Or you can get to us at the AppTech at hotmail.com, I believe.
All right, I'm going to share this, and let's make sure this is the right one. Share screen, boom.
So this is, let's see. Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Okay, disavowedgroup.com, leadheads.
So there's the AK offering, and you can tell by the dimples on it for that detent pin. So you can put it on snug.
Are you showing me something right now? Because I'm looking at.
Yeah.
All right, I need to switch to you. Okay, go ahead.
So here's our sickle model, and this is AK specific for 12 millimeter, I guess.
Yeah,
if you can see, it's got the dimples and stuff to accommodate any AK detent pin.
Yeah.
So you can put it on and it's not going to back out. And then there's the new pattern, the 30 caliber one. And unfortunately, I'm not strong enough that I have a wrench handy to unscrew the
That's okay. Will these work on with the detents? Will those work on the adapters, the Pioneer Arms adapters?
You don't need one. You don't need the adapter. You screw it. It's a left-handed 14 millimeter thread.
Okay, so you just take your existing slant off and you put that on. Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then we have the back. So the other version of it, again, it's got, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a back plate that, you can screw off and then put another one on that's got the 24 millimeter right-handed thread on it.
Gotcha.
So to accommodate both AK threads.
Okay. Very good. So now we finally got a website.
And then we are waiting on our first, because they're finishing up the testing on them, the first 9 millimeter cans that weigh 3.9 ounces. Which you don't need a piston, a direct thread.
Very good. And those are coming or they're out?
No, they're coming, and we're still waiting on them. But the thing with them is that they also got back plate that you can, take off, and then it would accommodate just about any kind of piston for any thread pattern. And or you leave it on, knowing what type of thread pattern, you can just order the direct thread, because it weighs only 3.9 ounces. It doesn't affect the tilting of the barrel or locking of the barrel and so on and so on. So the gun performs.
And they've got all this info on that website, Disavowed.
Yeah.
Okay. Check it out, Leadheads, disavowedgroup.com. Make sure you go to Hank's website, fireforceventures.com.
Yep.
Fireforceventures.com. And you guys are on the Instagrams also. What's your Instagrams?
Fireforce.ventures, and on Facebook as well, Fireforce Ventures.
Very cool. And then, of course,
up.
Pioneer Arms Corp. You guys go to pioneerarmscorpUSA.com, or you can go to pioneer-pac.com for the Polish website there. They've got some different things on that website. But we still have just a limited supply. A few of our Cobra and G.I. Joe magazine sets available. The U.S. Palm AK mag, done with the Cobra Python Patrol logo, and then the Joe G.I. Joe AR mags for last season's AK versus AR episode. We'll do something special for this year's also, but still have a few of these left. If you want them, email me, talkinglet@gmail.com, and I'll let you know how you can get these. Only selling these in the sets. And you got yours, didn't you, Marco? You
Yeah, I sure did.
Okay, very good. So that does it, Leadheads, for this month's edition of the Talking Lead AK Corner. Appreciate you guys again taking the time to be on. It was a pleasure, Hank. Definitely got to get you back on. You're a wealth of knowledge. I
hope so. I try.
So until then, Leadheads, you've got your marching orders on the next giveaway. I want to start seeing those emails come in now. Better get them in. Don't wait. And next month, we're giving away that 5.56 AK from Pioneer Arms Corp. Until then, stay concealed, stay hidden, and get Marco's book. Amazon.com. Marco Vorobiev.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the plug.
Thanks, Lefty.
All right.
Arms Corp USA is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead AK Corner and the Lead Hat Brigade.